Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV, tonight's broadcast of the Simbox Truck Series here for the National Sim Racing Association. It is race number 1 of the season, and tonight we do have the Simbox 250 lined up for you here, right here on 3Y TV. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Cameron Rich. And Cameron, we got 250 miles, 100 laps here around the Daytona International Speedway, the track they dub the world center of racing. I'm very much looking forward to it. What are you expecting to see here tonight?
Well, we got the trucks out here at this big 2.5 mile oval, and it's definitely going to be a good one. The trucks always put on one heck of a show. You know that, Peter. They punch a big hole in the air. Track looks like it's pretty hot and slick out there, so it's going to be, you're going to see these trucks move around a lot. And, you know, one of the things you always got to watch out for, especially with the trucks, is the big one. So with that hot and slick track, you're going to have to look out for that. And this league is actually... you know, we have a lot of old-time racers in this league from the NRO3 days, so it's going to be really cool to see how they're going to fare in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you mentioned the big one. Well, that is one of our storylines here tonight, as well as Simbox on the pole. If you didn't join us last week for the Lynchburg duels that were right here at Daytona, well, Doug Neal in the number 77 machine put his Simbox machine on the pole. Great to see not only the series sponsor for this 2020-2021 NSRA Simbox Truck Series, but also out there on quite a few cars, including the number 26 of JT Poole you see right there. Another storyline is no Mitchell Adams here tonight. The reigning series champion is not in the show here tonight, and he is one of the drivers who pulled out of this race. We had over 60 drivers try to qualify last week in the Lynchburg duels, many of those drivers going home, and tonight only 42 cars will start this race. Meanwhile, up at the front of this practice session, I'll tell you what there, Cameron, it's been a fantastic qualifying session, practice session, excuse me, and as of right now, we do see the number 50 of Bill Edwards the fastest in this session.
Oh, right there. See that number 30 car? He's getting spun around, and that's going to be something we're going to have to look for in this race. That's Josh Sobel in that Chevy Silverado. But you kind of just saw he got turned around by the car behind him. I couldn't see who that was, but you know, one of the rules in this league is no bump drafting in the corner, and I think you could see right there why they don't want that to be a thing, because that definitely is pretty much it's the easiest way to get yourself in trouble at a track like this that is so dependent on bump drafting. You just really have to make sure that you can keep your car off of that car in front of you, because you will turn them around in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. You see a couple of drivers here doing a little bit of practice on pit road. We saw in the Lynchburg duels last week that the pit window is around 20 laps or so. They don't use a full tank of fuel here in the NSRA Simbox Truck Series, so definitely pit strategy might be something we see in effect here tonight. We saw it last week, and we might see it again here tonight. So definitely something to keep an eye on as these drivers out there on the racetrack. And Cameron, hopefully we can see some green flag pit stops.
Absolutely. And you know, I think you would know better than almost anyone, Peter, all the times we've been racing together. Green flag pit stops can absolutely make or break your race. You have to, especially if you've got teammates, you have to coordinate that perfectly, get everybody, you know, down at the bottom of the racetrack and get them onto pit road without any penalties to have a shot of you know, having a shot at winning the race after that. So definitely green flag pit stops, if they do happen tonight, are going to be probably what makes or breaks the winner's chance of getting victory lane.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to go now over into the race because the warm-up is over. All these drivers are going to have to shake off the rust because, Cameron, the 2020-2021 Simbox PC Series is about to kick off. And there you see the number 77 machine of Doug Neal starting on the pole. He is your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner for race number 1 of the season in that number 77 machine. Great looking truck out there here tonight, Cameron, and I'm very excited to see what that number 77 machine can do. But Cameron, why don't you take us through tonight's starting lineup?
Well, like we just said, the number 77 Doug Neal, he is your pole sitter tonight in that very nice red, white, and blue truck. You got to say it's very patriotic. And then on his outside, you got number 14 of Jeff Price, a pair of Chevy Silverados up there at the front to lead us to the green flag. Third place got the 47 of Chris Darling. He is the league, one of the league head admins here. And the number 25 of Tim Hammond rolls off in the fourth spot. I believe all of those all those trucks except for Darling are all Chevy Silverados. Look for them to work together in the opening laps. Joshua Sobel rolls out in the fifth position in the third row on the inside, and 2 is outside number 48 of Matt Cherry. See number 43 of Mitchell Snare there in the 7th position. Pretty good spot to start. I think I've always kind of liked starting behind the lead just to kind of gauge the field a little bit there. So I think that's a pretty good spot to start for him. Then on his outside, we got the number 93 of Roger Mudd.
Yeah, and Roger Muth will be starting on the outside of row number 5, TJ Buck on the inside. You see that number 84 machine right there. Meanwhile, starting in the 11th position is the number 23 machine of Travis White. To his outside, Aaron Mack in the number 35. Starting on row number 7 on the inside, Chip Hansen. And in the 14th position, Trevor Shaw. Row number 8, Stan Hausman on the inside, Paul Bilson on the outside of row number 8. Starting 17th, Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Colin Ullery in 18th. Rounding out your top 20, Jacob Schaffet and James Lorello. Take you through the rest of the field. JT Poole, Christopher Pendell will roll off from row number 11. A little bit further back, Jordan Scheffler and Brett Eckerd in the number 151 machine. Then on row number 13, Ben Adams, Nicholas Bradley. Row 14, Robert Dudley, Justin White, Zach Howell, Nathan Maurer. Row number 15, Doug Milliner, John Cannizzaro, Gerald Baker, Michael Mooney, TJ Floyd, Bill Edwards, Joey Doucette, Justin Hutchison, Andrew Himmelman, Ben Mashburn, and Robert Clavey and Daniel Visser round out your field. The green flag is already in the air here. The number 77 machine of Doug Neal takes the green flag of the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series here for the NSRA. And Cameron, good start for that number 77 machine right there.
Yeah, he's off to an early lead. Looks like everybody is pretty well organized behind him. You see right there behind him, that is the number 47 of Chris Darling. Like you said, one of the league head admins. He's right there tucked up behind the leader. Remember, no 3 wide until the backstretch. Looks like everybody is holding to that rule. Here comes the outside line, number 14 of Jeff Price. He started on the outside of the front row. He's coming back to the outside of the front row into turn number 3. Good run from that outside line. Good push from number 25 of Tim Hammond. Peter, I'm going to be interested to see how well that outside line works tonight with the way the track is. I think we're going to see it be pretty good. They're just going to need a little bit of help up there.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't talked about yet is the weather conditions here at Daytona. Right down there, track temperature 115 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a very hot, slick racetrack. I know a couple of these drivers were a little bit concerned with what tire wear might do here with these high temperatures at this time of day, but as of right now, they have all the grip in the world, Cameron. They can go from the top to the bottom of the racetrack, and right now we still see Doug Neal in that number 77 machine lead the way, but the field's starting to scatter out just a little bit back behind them.
Yeah, and you see how much these trucks move around on the backstretch. You know, that's not what the driver's doing, Peter. They're not doing that intentionally. That's just how the air works the cars. And, you know, it is hard to see around these trucks. That spoiler is giant, and that greenhouse is very big on these things. So you have to really be careful when you're behind the trucks. Look, we're inside. I can't see who this actually is on board with, but you can see there's just not a lot of visibility in front of you. You really have to trust that truck in front of you to not really, you know, mess up your race. So a lot of trust going in these drivers, and it really, I think that is the 48 of Matt Cherry, third car on the outside line. Definitely, you know, trying to keep that momentum up there on the outside line. And it is a hard thing, Peter. It is really hard to keep that high line going fast because you have to push very aggressively.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of pushing aggressively, look at the number 47 machine of Chris Darling trying to give a shot to Doug Neal down the backstretch. Off into turn number 3 they go, still side by side. And Cameron, last week in the Lynchburg duels, we saw a lot of accidents. They had fast repairs last week in those Lynchburg duels. No more. There are no fast repairs here tonight. If these drivers get involved in an accident, that could potentially spell the end of their race. So I expect to see a lot of drivers be a little bit more patient here tonight, Cameron. It's also a longer race at 250 laps.
Yeah, 250 miles, 100 laps at this race. I think that's a good move, though. I'm not the biggest fan of fast repairs myself, and I think, you know, it really makes these drivers kind of think about every move they do because, you know, if you junk up half the field, you're not going to be the most popular driver the rest of the race or maybe the rest of the season for that matter. So you really have to calculate your moves pretty well here, but it looks like everybody is doing pretty well up here, at least in the front. one of the trucks I saw was blinking. I think that was a 35 of Aaron Mack. He had a quick blink there, but still it looks like he is his connection has stabilized a little bit. Still side by side up here at the front. Number 14 has not been able to get to the lead, but he is trying with that push from Tim Hammond behind and number 40 of Matt Cherry. All those trucks are pretty much as close as they can be, or as much as you want to be at the early stages of this race. You really don't want to pinch too hard, on lap 5, because that's just one of those things that it nets you a little bit of speed, but it really is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. But one other thing about Daytona is you can pick up spots in a hurry. We're focusing right now on the number 88 machine a little bit further back. That's Michael Mooney. He so far has picked up the most positions in this race, plus 10 as of right now, as he works his way now through turn number 4 back up onto the front straight. Great start for him, and really great start for the field here, because Cameron, we're clean and green through the first 5 laps.
Yeah, and if you know anything about C-fixed races or anything like that at Daytona, you know that really doesn't tend to happen. You usually get a big junk on lap number 1 or 2, so it's really good to see these guys keeping it clean and green. It looks like number 14 of Jeff Price, he has nosed ahead of Doug Neal down the backstretch, and he's going to have the good push from Tim Hammond behind. And, he's actually cleared, I think he's cleared with the 25 past Doug Neal, so they're probably going to chop down in front. Ooh, that was almost a wreck right there. You saw cars wiggling all over the place. I was trying to watch and see what they were going to do, because I thought they were going to cut down like that, but it really wasn't. They weren't really clear as much as they should have been. Definitely good to see that wasn't a wreck there, but getting a little squirrely there in the middle of the pack, it looks like.
Yeah, Tim Hammond will lead that lap at the number 25 machine. He's now out front, but look at that outside line starting to build up, Cameron. And possibly what we're starting to see is maybe those tires are just starting to wear off just a little bit, and that's giving the outside that little bit of an advantage that they needed to get those run. Ooh, look at the number 77 machine. Looks like Doug Neal's going to jump out here down the backstretch, and possibly he's had enough of that lead pack. This is a long race. You can drop to the back like this. Looks like the number 26 machine might be doing the same thing. Just these drivers electing to get out of the hornet's nest up at the front and ride for, a good handful of laps, because Cameron, you can't win races on lap number 1, but you sure can lose them.
And I've definitely lost a lot of them in lap 1 myself, so I've never been a proponent of that kind of strategy, but I definitely do get why it is a thing. So I think, he's shown he has the speed. He's shown he knows how to draft. It's lap number 8. I can't blame him for that. I think he will be one to look for at the end of this race. Meanwhile, number 14 of Jeff Price, I have seen him doing a little bit of the playing the lines thing, about that, Peter, where you would kind of switch between lines. You'd go to the high side, low side, high side. It's one of the things that Dale Jr. used to do back in the day. That was one of the things why he was so good, but he elected to stay on the inside line down the backstretch, and he is now under fire from the 40 of Matt Cherry on the outside line. So I think this outside line is actually showing that it does have a lot of speed right now, and that might be because of that tire wear, Peter.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now the number 48 machine of Matt Cherry trying to get to the line first. He does, so the 48 of Cherry will lead his first lap of the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series here in the National Sim Racing Association. Right below him is that number 40 of Price, still trying to get himself back up to the front. Looks like he has his nose in front now. Cameron, we'll see if he plays those line games that you were mentioning. We'll see if he jumps up to the top in front of the number 48. Doesn't look like it just yet here halfway down the back.
He looked like he was going to try it, but I think he saw that number 48 right at the wrong spot of the the blind spot, really, where you can't really determine where the move you want to make will net you. But he looks like we are side by side here. Matt Cherry and Jeff Price are pretty much nose to nose up here at the start finish line. But I still think that outside line just looks a little bit stronger at this point. And I don't know if it's tire wear or not, Peter, because it is only lap 10, but tire wear, as much as people want to say that it's not a thing at Daytona, it really is. It really does make a difference.
Looking a little bit further back here in the pack, a lot of the cars have broken away. There are a few stragglers towards the back of the field here, Cameron, including The number 40 of Nicholas Bradley looks like he has lost the draft completely in that machine. The 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. is drafting with the number 6 of Doug Milliner. But what about Doug Neal? He was your pole sitter in that number 77 Simbox machine. He's lost the draft as well. Remember, he pulled down below that yellow line, let the field on by, just couldn't get back up to speed because when he re-entered the racetrack, he re-entered the racetrack in the middle of the corner, and now he's found himself in a deep hole.
Yeah, it was a little bit sketchy how that kind of happened. He slid up on the apron and almost kind of came in back to back. So, you know, that was good that there wasn't an accident there. But he definitely did make sure that he lost the draft, which, you know, is not optimal, I wouldn't say. But you know, he'll be fine. You know, I think we probably will get a caution sometime in this race, just knowing how, like right there.
Right.
There we go.
Oh, is that what? I don't know what just happened right there, because I was sure that was going to be an accident, but it didn't look like it was. We'll see if we can go back and see exactly what happened here on this 3Y TV replay. Possibly, let's see if we can see the blimp cam right here with JT Poole. There was a car blinking out, and JT Poole just right in the middle of it. Excuse me, that wasn't JT Poole, that was TJ Buck. Oh, there was contact, and the caution flag did come out. So just like that, we are under the first caution flag of the night. We'll see if we can dial up another replay for you, but that was in the making for quite some time there. And Cameron, I believe that was the number 35 machine who possibly might have been involved in this one. We'll see if we can dial that one. There's the number 35 machine. You see him having that connection issues. Let's see if we can see that. There's that initial contact, and unfortunately, looks like the number 24 machine, the 62 of Ullery involved as well. And unfortunately, it looks like the number 35 and the number 24 getting the worst out of it, but that will bring out the first caution flag here tonight. So tough break there, Cameron.
Yeah, and that 35 of Aaron Mack, he was having some connection issues earlier on. He had a couple blinks here and there, but that was the fatal one, if we will say, because looked like that just about caused it. And there's just not much you can do, Peter, as a driver. When that happens and you're in the middle of the pack, you know, 2 and 3 wide, there's nowhere you can really go. And you see the unfortunate big hit there for the, I believe that's the number 24 car. That is Ben Mashburn, so he is going to be hurting after that one. But, you know, it looks like about 12 or so trucks were significantly damaged in that wreck, so that's going to put a hamper on all their races.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to see who is coming down pit road. A good number of cars are currently on pit road as we speak, and trying to get some of that damage repaired. Meanwhile, the number 14 machine, is he going to come down pit road here, Cameron? It's going to be interesting to see. Looks like he does indeed come down pit road. So the whole field now working their way onto pit road here at Daytona. You see all of those cars currently sitting on pit road, including the number 24 machine, trying to get that damage fixed, because here early in the going, Cameron, that is not what you want to have happen here at this racetrack.
Definitely not. But for some of the cars that had a little bit of minor damage further on in the pack, it is good that it happened this early, because you do have time to fix it, and you know, you can get a little bit of dings here and there and get it fixed up and still be competitive, because the draft is a bit of an equalizer. It's a curse and a blessing. You know, you need aerodynamics, but you can also have a little bit that will be carried by the draft. So I hope that I hope that some of those trucks that were involved are able to be competitive for the rest of the race. Some of them definitely weren't. I know there was a lot of hard hits there in that turn 3 wall, especially. But some of them should be pretty good there.
And that is a saving grace for that man right there, the number 77 machine of Doug Neal, because he'll be able to catch back up to the lead pack as we work our way back out onto the track. Now, I'll tell you what, Cameron, right now we do have the number 48 machine of Matt Cherry. There he is working his way up into turn number 3 and 4. The pace car lights are going to be off here in just a little bit, but it definitely is going to be very interesting to see just how everything works out here over these next few laps.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have the number 48 of Matt Cherry. Looks like he's going to line up next to Roger Muth in that number 93. So Roger Muth, he was kind of riding that high line the entire last run, kind of in that second, third spot. So kind of keeping himself low key, but definitely making himself out to be a good pusher. Now that is a good way to earn friends at a racetrack like this, where if you can establish yourself as a good pusher, people want to work with you. So I think he's doing exactly what he needs to do in these early stages of this race.
Absolutely, and you can see the field there going on by a couple of those damaged race cars right at the back. In fact, some of them hustling to catch up to the back of the field. You see them go by right here. Some very lengthy pit stops as the field just now working its way down towards turn number 3. Not quite there yet. But there is that number 48 machine. Matt Cherry, so far your race leader here in the early going. No lucky dogs under this caution. There was no cars any lap down, so we will have to hold the lucky dog award in the back pocket at least for now. But the pace truck lights are off here. Camera, we're going to go back to green flag.
Absolutely. So we're going to see that pace truck make the hard left turn onto pit road. Remember, the leader does have control of the restart, so Matt Cherry will be deciding when the field goes. But at a track like this, you really don't want to get too much of a lead. Green flag is out. That flagman is waving that green piece of cloth frantically, and the whole field is back under green. Looks like another good restart for all these drivers. Number 14 and the 48, they seem to they got a little bit of a breakaway from Trevor Shaw in that number 27 DC machine behind them, but he will catch right back up to him. We said that draft, a big equalizer. No help on that outside for Roger Muth in that number 93, so apparently what I said on the caution flag that he got some friends on that last run, not so true right now, but he looks like he might slip in to that inside line right in front of Chris Darling. No, he will not. He's actually going to stay up there with the 25 truck, but Tim Hammond. Those two actually worked together pretty well during that first run, so they might be, race long of partners, but right now, 3 truck breakaway. That's 48 Matt Cherry. I think that's Jeff Price, and then there's Trevor Shaw in that number 27. So interesting, we're seeing that, Peter, that little 3 truck breakaway right at the start of this run.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're seeing some of the other drivers who were involved in that accident, really kind of break up the field. Luckily for drivers like TJ Buck in that number 84 machine, he got away unscathed due to a little bit of net code on that machine. It looked like everything was all going off around him, but no damage on TJ Buck. And what we have seen out of TJ Buck is a very, very fast race car driver. That number 84 machine has been quick in every broadcast that we've had so far this year in the National Sim Racing Association. We had a little bit of preseason thunder at Texas Motor Speedway a couple weeks back, and he actually won that race, and here he is once again inside the top 10 as they work their way through the tri-oval, and is inside the number 5 machine of Ben Adams with Sim Racing shirts on the hood of that machine. Of course, Sim Racing shirts, a sponsor for the whole award this season, so great to have them on board. And what about the number 88 machine of Michael Mooney? I mentioned earlier in the race that he was the biggest mover up to that point. Well, now he has gained 23 positions, trying to get himself up into the top 10.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of damage on the rear end of that truck, on the rear right side of the truck, so he was probably in that last wreck. Maybe got hit from behind a little bit, but definitely not hurting his speed. He's a 4th car up there on the outside line. Outside line not as strong as it was early on in the last run, but I think we will see them come back as the laps click out a little bit. But these trucks are really, really moving around a lot, Peter. I'm really surprised at how much they are, because really, trucks do move around a lot, but these track conditions just really seem pretty treacherous right now.
Yeah, absolutely. These trucks, and we saw it last week at Daytona in the Lynchburg duels, that although they look pretty stable, they're just so hard to see through and follow. I know, Cameron, you and I, we've done a lot of super speedway races. We've been teammates in the past. We've been enemies in the past on these types of tracks. But getting hooked up with the truck in front of you, the rear bumper, is so difficult to do, because the car in front makes a small, slight adjustment. The car behind seems to exacerbate that movement, because the car in front then realizes, ooh, I need to turn back to where I was, and so you end up doing this kind of seesaw effect down the straightaway. But as of right now, the number 48 and the 14 locked together pretty good into turn number 1. Very, very close between those two.
And just as I said, the outside line coming back with a vengeance right now. number 93 of Roger Muth, he has a good push from behind number 25 of Tim Hammond. They have been lockstep all race so far, all these 19 laps, and they are definitely trying to make some work up there. So you definitely, Peter, you have your drivers that kind of prefer the outside line. If they can get who's a lap car up there, I think that's the the 26 of JT Poole. Oh, big trouble.
And that is Muth going up and over in the number 93 machine, still barrel rolling. That is not what you want to see right up at the front of the pack. There's still some cars spinning, and the number 62 of Ullery there coming into that one just a little bit late. I was just about to say that we have seen a little bit of a breakaway in the pack, and definitely this one is going to be tough to go back and watch, Cameron, because this happened right up at the front of the field. Watch the number 93 machine. Has the number 25 right behind him. Then the 48, just a little nudge, and it was on from there.
Yeah, they were trying to avoid the 26 of JT Poole. He was well out of the way. I don't think he had an influence in that wreck, and I don't even think there was contact from behind on Roger Muth. That looked like a bit of netcode there. Some drivers failing to use the brakes at the end of that wreck, but oh my goodness, that took out a lot of our strong contenders early on. Let's watch this one more time. I really cannot see any physical contact there from the 48 and the 93. Looks like, Roger Muth, he tried to make a move down to the inside line to get around that 26, who really wasn't in any way. But I'm not sure. I can't. I can't pinpoint my finger on it, Peter. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that is a tough break. A couple of those trucks getting involved in this one, and I'm curious to know, as we're going to get one last look at the number 88 machine. Let's see if we can ride on board with that machine, because there's that initial contact, just absolutely nowhere for him to go. Then I believe his motor was blown at this point, and right around he went because he had a little bit of contact from the rear. But definitely a tough break for that machine. Meanwhile, back live, we got a bunch of people on pit road. Remember, their fuel tanks aren't very big here. Looks like Tim Hammond in the number 25 machine is going to win the race of pit road. So pretty cool to see him now lead. Well, let's see who's going to follow him off pit road. There's the 77 of Neal finally getting into his pit box. Looks like Mitchell Snare and the number 43 machine going to come off pit road as one of the first contenders as well. So far here, Cameron, one of our talking points here at the top of the show was the big one. And we have seen really two big ones here in the first 20 laps or so.
Yeah, that first wreck was about 12 or so trucks that I believe were substantially damaged. And then that last one, it may be a little bit less. I think that actually more trucks escaped that last one with without having terminal damage. Somehow, being that was like that started at the front of the pack, it literally was the leader that got spun around there. So those are always the tough ones, because there's just absolutely nowhere to go when that happens. But yeah, definitely two moderately large accidents so far in this race. So. Lap 20, we have about 80 to go, so a lot of these drivers are probably thinking, what's going on.
And there's currently the biggest mover of the race. That is the number 4 machine of Andrew Himmelman. We got Tana Himmelman in the chat here tonight saying 'tis the season. And yes, it is definitely the season for the National Sim Racing Series Simbox Truck Series to be back. Huge shout out to Simbox for jumping on board as the series sponsor. If you're in need of a button box, Simbox will hook you up. Fantastic product at a fantastic price point. Definitely, Cameron, as a sim racer myself, I'm always looking for more buttons, whether it's on my steering wheel, my shifter, wherever, man. I can't have enough buttons because you can pretty much program a button to do anything, and Simbox will hook you up.
Yeah, really, it is a great product. There is no sim racer on this planet that is going to say I don't want more buttons. So definitely, I would check their product out. Any type of button box is gonna make you better as a sim racer, because for some reason, all of these cars have a lot of buttons in them, and you need a button box. So I say that as a flight simmer myself. I'm like, we need buttons too, but. Some of these road cars on this sim, like the Audi R18 and stuff like that, they got about 25, 30 settings that you can adjust in the car, and you just can't do that with keyboard.
Yeah, and of course, the National Sim Racing Association also has a road course league. They race on Tuesday nights with the LMP1s and the GTEs. They also race Saturday nights with the Indy cars. That's a little bit of a fun series that they run. But then on Sunday nights, they run GT3s. So GT3s, GTEs, and LMP1s, all of those need buttons. So if you're watching and you need some more buttons, well, check out Simbox, because the price point you can't beat. The price point of Simbox, and it is the number 77 machine of Doug Neal, who is the man who puts all that stuff together. So check them out. Meanwhile, up at the front, the number 25 of Tim Hammond, he's chosen the high line. Jacob Schoffett in the 00 machines now got himself up to the front as we're back green flag racing here at Daytona.
If a spread out restart there was a lot of space behind the second row of cars. That's number 43 of Mitchell Snare and the 51 of Paul Bilson. But definitely they are getting back up here, spread or bunch back up. A couple of trucks here that we haven't seen up at the front so far. Number 87, Chip Hansen, he started in 13th as kind of ran in the mid-pack for most of the race, but after that wreck, he found himself up in the top 5, so definitely going to be interesting to see how some of these trucks that we haven't seen up front all race, fare for the rest of it.
Yeah, we saw some of the trucks near the back of the pack. They're having trouble getting up to speed. And Cameron, with the amount of damaged race trucks we have out there, I'm not all too surprised that is the case. But up at the front, currently Jacob Schoffett in the 00 machine. He restarted on the inside line, now trying to get himself up to the front to lead that lap. Indeed, he does as we close in on the halfway mark. But Cameron, we went green there on lap number 23, so we think that these drivers can make it to lap number 43 before they have to come down pit road, at least about 43. They might be a couple laps short of that. We saw in the 240 lap duels last week that the drivers all had to make at least 2 pit stops. Of course, some of those were caution aided. So definitely these drivers, it won't be all too long until they have to start thinking about coming down pit road, because pit road here, Cameron, with the brake package they run, very difficult to get down.
Absolutely. And then, of course, if you're on that outside line, you have to get the inside line before you pit. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to get the inside line because there's no pit road on the outside line. So it definitely, that has caused wrecks in the past, and it's almost like a dance. That was one of the things that we did when we raced together, Peter. We had to coordinate those pit stops, and it is an art. It really is. So these teammates are going to be coordinating pit stops when they get to those green flag times to do that, and they're going to have to make sure that they get on pit road efficiently and quickly, and no penalties, because like we said, that's going to be make or break in your race right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There you see your pulse hitter for the Simbox 250, the Simbox truck of Doug Neal. We were just talking about him and the product that he gives. He is at the back of the lead pack. And Cameron, this lead pack right now, only 19 trucks strong. The number 50 machine of Bill Edwards right there with that patriotic scheme that you see right down there at the right side of your screen right there. He's the last truck in this lead pack, and that's a little bit surprising at this point of the race.
Yeah, really it is. I'm actually wondering if some of these drivers near the back of this front pack are, they've kind of seen how the race has played out so far. Those 2 big wrecks and a lot of damaged trucks. Maybe they're thinking, hey, I'm going to kind of take it easy a little bit because, we got about, 75 laps to go or something like that. And then that is a lot of time here at Daytona to just kind of ride around. So 75 laps, that's going to be about, 3 or 4 pit stops. So that is a lot of time to kind of get your strategy together, get some laps clicked out. You really have to, like we said, you got to make it to the end to win the race. So I think a lot of these drivers are probably going to be a little more apprehensive now after they've seen how it's been.
And unfortunately, quite a few of those accidents have taken out drivers. I mean, I'm looking at who we got left out there on the racetrack. Unfortunately, looks like Joshua Sobel, Matt Cherry, Roger Muth, Colin Ullery, Christopher Pendell, Michael Mooney, Ben Mashburn, Robert Clavey, David Visser, all currently not out there on the racetrack. We do have drivers like Justin Hutchison, James Lorello trying to fight their trucks around this joint, but they are definitely off the pace of the leaders. So Cameron, we're already whittled down a little bit here tonight in this Simbox 250, but still a long way to go, and possibly might get a little bit of green flag racing now in that the field has whittled down a little bit.
Absolutely. We got a battle for the lead up here. Tim Hammond took it away from Jacob Schoffit on that outside line. And once again, he's been one of the drivers that has been riding that top line all day long. Remember, he was right behind, I believe it was one of the drivers that was in that last accident, Roger Muth. They were working together all race long. So now Schoffit is working with the number 43, or excuse me, the 51 of Paul Bilson. Good push down there on the backstretch. Now we're on board with Schoffit, looking behind on that Simbox sponsored number 43 machine. There's one of our lap down cars getting passed on the outside line. I believe that was James Lorello, a couple laps down there, well off the pace. But that number 43 truck, very, very nice looking truck, I must say. One of the Simbox sponsored trucks. Homage to Adam Petty's old Spree car from the early 2000s. Always a nice treat to see that. It actually makes me really happy seeing that truck because I'm a big fan of the Victory Junction gang, and I can't not think of that when I see Adam Petty's paint scheme.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Oh, they're coming up on a lap truck, and that truck just came out in the front of the field, works his way up, and luckily the field able to scatter around that slower truck who was just now coming off of pit road. So great job there by the field to scatter. We stay clean and green up at the front, still looking at about 19 trucks or so in the lead pack. The number 77 machine of Doug Neal a little bit further back. I'm sure a couple of these drivers might need a new pair of underwear after that one, Cam.
Absolutely. That was Joshua Sobel in the 30 coming off pit road. Not sure what that was about totally, but he was trying to come off pit road, fair credit to him, and he might have just kind of freaked out by seeing the pack behind him. That definitely is a thing. But definitely would have preferred he stayed on the apron for a bit longer. I think all the trucks in the front pack would have preferred that too. But absolutely no harm, no foul. We're still green somehow, so it's good to see that. Pack is a little bit more spread out than it was before. You see a little bit of single file for the first 5 or 6 trucks there. So it definitely has changed our lead pack a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see a couple of the slower trucks. In fact, they're, I believe, all headed down pit road as they run over our track camera right there just a little bit. Caution flag is out, though, here. And we'll have to figure out exactly what happened here.
I saw a couple trucks on the infield grass, but I didn't exactly see what happened here. I have to find out what really did happen.
Yeah, here we are on board with the number 4 machine. Watch out the hood. You see a couple of those trucks go down the racetrack onto pit road. Looks like it didn't happen there. Oh, it happened out front of the number 4 machine. And one car, the 87 machine, going up and over. And unfortunately, Himmelman getting involved in that one. Man, Doug Neal there squeaking through right at the end. We'll have to see if we can go get a little bit better look at this one for you folks. It happened right here in the Trialville. Contact there. I think that was the 5 machine. It was of Ben Adams. The 87 having it coming together, and it was on from there. There's the number 4 machine. Oh, unfortunately, Himmelman blew a motor. We'll see if we can get one more good look at that one here, Cam. But definitely a tough break here tonight for these guys.
We've seen a lot of hard hits. A couple cars going up and over, and see on board here, you don't want to see the pavement when you're on board a truck, like that. You want to see the pavement below you, not above you. So that's going to be terminal damage for him. That's going to be probably day over, if we're going to be honest here.
Yeah, and you can see this right up here at the front. 87 on the inside. Looks like the 87 might have come up. The 5, I think, came down. They just kind of had it coming together. And unfortunately, a couple of trucks there having a very tough time getting through that one. Who was that? Was that Ron Gaivo in the number 17 machine who just barely squeaked through this one? Let's see if we can go on board with this machine. Watch it all unfold out front. Did a fantastic job of getting on the binders here coming out of turn number 4. The initial contact happens right there. Gaivo trying to find his way through and just barely squeaks through. Fantastic job. Another car coming back up the racetrack, and Gaivo gonna get away with that one with no damage there, Cameron. That is the best way to get through those accidents, and just now coming back out into the racetrack after coming down pit road.
That was a fine piece of driving. I must say, I haven't seen the 17 car miss a lot of wrecks from my point of view, but hey, I might be a little biased there. We had a couple of trucks pit up here in the front of the pack. So currently, I believe that our leader will cycle out to be the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson. I haven't seen him up. He actually started back in 17th place, speaking of the 17, and I believe he actually stayed out. Our first truck to pit was probably Tim Hammond at 25. He was leading before and decided to come down and get some fuel.
Yeah, meanwhile, John Canizaro, Gerald Baker III, Joey Doucette, and Andrew Himmelman all sitting on pit road as we speak. Trying to see if we can figure out who the Lucky Dog Award winner under this caution might have been. And Cameron, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it is. However, Aaron Mack right there, the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner under this caution. That number 35 machine involved in an early accident here tonight. And he is going to get himself one of his laps back. So great job. Thanks to Brookstone Animal Hospital for jumping on board. If you're in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, make sure you check out Brookstone Animal Hospital for all your animal needs. They're jumping on board this year all season long as the Lucky Dog Award winner. It's pretty cool to have an animal hospital as the Lucky Dog Award this year, Cameron.
Absolutely, and I can't stop but thinking how cute that logo is. You know, can't tell me that can't make you smile. That little puppy on the broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the field just now working their way on to the backstretch. We will go green flag once again. And Cameron, one big thing about some of the most recent iRacing updates is the fact that iRacing actually shortened the length of their caution flags over the last 6 months or so. So all of a sudden, a lot of these drivers with damage, they have even less time to fix that damage.
And I would say all the rest of the drivers are probably, very, very popular thing. I think all the drivers in iRacing, even if we're talking about damage, have been asking for that for, let's see, 2020, about 10, 11, 12 years now. So definitely a good change, especially on a track like this, because cautions, sometimes would take a long, long, long time.
Yeah, we're about to get set to go back to green flag here on 3Wide TV. We do have some of the drivers in the chat. Colin O'Leary saying I have 20 minutes of damage, excuse me. Joshua Sobel, 6 minutes of repairs and others. Meanwhile, the green flag about to come back out into the air. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. going to lead us back to green flag here, Cameron. He's been out there on the racetrack now for 13 laps in that machine. He is not too far off, needing to come down pit road for some fuel. We'll have to see how that plays out. Meanwhile, it looks like Paul Bilson in the number 51 machine is going to take his machine to the front.
With some help from TJ Buck, who has a lot of damage on that rear end. It's actually tapered on both ends of that bumper. But we were talking about how he is one of the faster drivers in this league. Definitely somebody to look out for. So I don't think that damage is hurting him too much. He's definitely given a good push down that backstretch to Paul Bilson. And interestingly enough, Jeffrey Johnson, that number 33, has dropped almost like a rock. He's already back to about 6th or 7th place and hung out on the outside line, no help. And it looks like a lot of the drivers are kind of electing to ride that inside line. But here comes TJ Buck on the outside line saying, "No, sir, I'm not going to do that." Trying to take the lead. I believe he got it at the line by just about 1/1000th of a second. Yes, timing and scoring confirms what I said there. But we are seeing this field dwindle down after every crash, Peter. I see about 24 trucks up here within about 2 seconds of the leader.
Yeah, one of those drivers with quite a bit of damage is that man right there, Chris Darling. Chris was one of the winners of the Lynchburg Duels last week here at Daytona. You see that front end pretty crinkled in, but so far so good for Darling. He's able to keep with this lead group of cars, but trucks, I should say. But Cameron, you have to really wonder when you have that damage on the front end of your truck, because sometimes it leads to a little bit of radiator damage and you don't realize it, but all of a sudden your engine grenades.
Yeah, and especially, it's kind of a two-part problem, Peter, because you have that front end damage, which means you pretty much have to be behind somebody else to draft them to keep pace, but that also makes you hotter, and plus you have your radiator kind of crushed in. So There have been a lot of instances where that will actually grenade the motor like in the middle of the pack, and he really needs to look at his temps, the rest of this race probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to see your temps depending on what view angles you are running and whatnot. Meanwhile, back at the front, Tim Hammond in the number 25 machine continues to lead. Looks like that might be Bill Edwards up there, possibly getting shuffled out of the group. Edwards got himself up towards the top 5, now starting to fall back in that number 50 machine. Let's see if we can get our camera on him. There he is, the lone wolf on the high line, now going to duck back in below Guyvo in that number 17 machine, right in front of Houseman. And haven't mentioned Houseman there in that number 39 machine, right behind Bill Edwards. But a great run for Houseman. He was involved in an accident last week in the duels that we had at Daytona, the Lynchburg duels, and so far up in the top 10 now. Nathan Maurer in the 971 machine, a couple cars back. He is also working his way towards the front, and can't rule out the number 77 machine of Doug Neal. He was your pole sitter, currently rounding out your top 12.
Yeah, a lot of these trucks back here are, they kind of stayed in the back really most of the race and let the wrecks happen. And it's definitely paying them dividends here, approaching lap number 40. So about 63 laps to go now. And, there is a lot less competitive trucks than there was at the start of the race. It almost looks like a 90s restrictor plate race with it kind of being single file right now. But that also means we're probably going to click some laps off and get some green flag running here.
Yeah, here we are on board with the number 77 machine of Doug Neal. We know he has a fast hot rod, just biding his time right behind Nathan Maurer. And we mentioned it, Cameron, that you can't see through these trucks very well. Well, especially when you got a little bit of damage on the truck in front of you like that 971 and Maurer does. And this just gives you an indication, man, when a wreck happens out in front, you have to be very dependent on your spotter to make a call, because sometimes you just can't see through that truck.
Oh, absolutely. And you definitely do see it right there. That 971 spoiler kind of jacked up on the right side, and really the right side is where you're going to be looking for those wrecks, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a situation where you actually need to make an avoidance move, where that truck's going to steer out towards the right. Because if they go to the left, they're probably going to go in the grass, and you have a better shot at getting past it. But it definitely does make it a little bit different here. Bit of under the yellow line there. I believe that was the 51 of Paul Bilson, but no, didn't make a move advancing. He might have been just trying to see around those trucks. Peter, that is one of the things that drivers do. They will kind of duck their trucks or their cars around and try to actually just get some visibility so they can see where they're going.
Yeah, absolutely. We are down to a 16 truck lead draft. Doug Milliner right there in the number 6 machine is the first truck outside of the lead group. Then you have John Cannizzaro leading a small train of cars, including the number 26 machine of JT Poole, who is a lap or so down. You got Aaron Mack in the number 35 machine. He is the first truck 1 lap down in the middle of the lead group, but he is trying to get that Lucky Dog Award if he can. There he is right there. He was your Lucky Dog Award winner just a little bit ago. Now just 1 caution flag away from being back on the lead lap. Meanwhile, back at the front, we have a 5-truck breakaway, Cameron, led by the number 25 of Hammond.
Absolutely, and these 5 trucks up here, being Hammond, Snare, Bilson, Shofit, and actually number 151 of Brett Acworth, haven't seen him up front most of the race. He started back in 24th. So he's been able to navigate his way through some of the carnage and making himself a nice little run up here in the top 5. He's the last truck up there in that little breakaway. I'd say he's in a pretty good position to kind of just chill for a bit. That's kind of probably what I would do. Just chill up there. He's in between a couple trucks. Really has no rush to do anything from that point on. Just needs to kind of bide his time and kind of let things happen. Bit of a side-by-side behind him, 84 TJ Mack, and I believe that's a 50 of Bill Edwards. I think that's the first side-by-side battle we have in the pack. Looks like the 00 there of Jacob Schoaf having a bit of connection issues. But seeing a lot of that this race. I'm not sure if it's iRacing servers or just a lot of local issues, but definitely more than normal. Would you say, Peter?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the same thing. We don't often see that many cars blinking, and of course, at a racetrack like this, where you're upwards of 180 miles an hour, this is a racetrack where you don't want to see that happen. The lead group now catching one of the slower trucks that is damaged and off the pace here. But one thing I want to mention, Cameron, is that we do have a good group of people in the chat. We got Rich Sobel in the chat. They were rooting on Joshua Sobel. Unfortunately, Joshua Sobel definitely being involved in an accident, and looks like his night might be done. We got Red Legs in the chat as well, the Windsors. Millistic in the chat, Dana Himmelman, hopefully you're still sticking around. I know it didn't go your night for Andrew, as he was involved in that last caution that we had a couple laps ago. But Cameron, good to see a bunch of people in the chat. Make sure you stay active. We'll be giving you shout-outs as the race goes on. Meanwhile, the number 43, Mitchell Snare, has taken that Adam Petty throwback scheme to the front.
We're having a couple of shuffling positions up here. You see a side-by-side up here. I believe that's 25 of Tim Hammond. He got shuffled out the outside. Bit of a close bump drafting there between Bilson and Snare. There's Joshua Johnson, or I believe that's 33 of Johnson on the pit road there. We were talking about him. He was going to need to come down pit road. He had what's like 17 laps or so, and finally bit him. So he's going to be off the pace a little bit here and probably go a lap down.
Yeah, so now the big question is whether or not that number 33 machine can stay on the lead lap or not, because this lead pack with all that draft, they're surely going to catch him, but will they catch him in time for a caution flag to come out or not? That number 33 machine now halfway down the back stretch, so definitely a little bit of a gap back to your lead pack, but right now that lead group led by Mitchell Snare down there on the inside in that number 43 machine over Paul Bilson. And Cameron, last week in the chat we had people saying that the number 51 machine, he is Mr. Bad Luck. He has a target on the back of that number 51 machine, but so far so good for Bilson here in the top 5.
Yeah, right now I'd say he has a bit of a damaged bumper, but it's doing him pretty well. He's given a good push to that number 43 of Mitchell Snare, and they've kind of been able to separate themselves from the pack a little bit. But here comes that 25 of Tim Hammond, here, Mr. High Side himself. He's been kind of up there riding that high side all night long. The number 9 car of James Valero. That car is very damaged, about 40 miles an hour off the pace, but still out there. Just needs to make sure that he doesn't get in the way, because that will be a big problem there. But a bit of side-by-side running up here at the front again. 3 cars up on that high side. That's Hammond, Edwards, and Buck trying to make something happen. And it looks like they are making some ground up there, Peter.
Yeah, here we see from high atop the blimp cam, you can see who has their noses out ahead. For right now, it is Mitchell Snare, but we'll see if that outside groove can get lined up here down the front stretch and see if they can take that lead from Mitchell Snare. They got a huge run coming out of turn number 4, side by side for the race lead, with now just about 54 laps to go. 1/1000th
of a second was the gap right there, but I think he has edged ahead into turn number 1, but coming back on the inside line will always win in the turns if the lines are equal. So we're going to have to watch and see if that outside line can get their momentum back up down the backstretch. Looks like TJ Buck has backed off a little bit, so probably not going to do that, and connection issue for that 25. I think it must be an iRacing issue, because it is just kind of happening randomly, popping in and out. And there's that number 33. Apology for him. I said Joshua Johnson. It is Jeffrey Johnson. He is going a lap down now, having made that green flag pit stop. But, Peter, remember, the rest of these drivers are going to have to make their pit stops here in not too long.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First car 1 lap down now is that number 33 machine. So if caution flag was to come out, he would get the Lucky Dog Award. The only other truck 1 lap down currently is Aaron Mack in the number 35 machine. But do remember that there is a Biggest Mover Award here tonight, and of course that Biggest Mover Award, we will be presenting it at the end of the race. It is Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover Award, and currently, as of right now, it would be the number 50 machine who is running right behind the number 25. The number 50 driven by Bill Edwards right there, and let's see if we can bring up just how much he has gained in this race, because Cameron, he's gained 31 positions, started back in the 39th position, and here he is closing in on the halfway mark. Solid run so far.
Absolutely, and right now, well, it changes every lap. It's about not so much 31 anymore. It's something a little bit different. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but that is a really cool looking truck, I must say. Number 50 Bill Edwards. It definitely is a bit of a odd design concept, but I have to say that I like it.
Meanwhile, your leaders are navigating a big pack of slower trucks, a bunch of damaged trucks that have unfortunately fallen yet another lap down here at Daytona. The lead pack doing a good job navigating that, but it is a big mess out there of race cars, Cameron. I mean, we see these trucks with damage kind of congregating in a group, and that's good for them because they can use the draft as much as they can to their advantage. But when these lead trucks that have good aerodynamics and have all the horsepower left in the engine catch them, it can kind of cause for some trouble. So great job there by the field to navigate through that mess.
Absolutely. It does seem that way. It's kind of been a pack of trucks kind of all over the place. So I think some of the leaders up here probably wish they would coordinate that a little bit better and kind of, stay out of the way a little bit. But, they are doing what they can. And you got to remember, this is going to be a long season for these guys. They do need every point they can get. So you can't ever fault the slower trucks for kind of trying to do that,
Absolutely. Here is another driver. We haven't really mentioned his name here tonight, Cameron, but Robert Dudley in that number 15 machine. He's gained 19 positions from the start of the race, now inside the top 10. So great job by Dudley to keep that great-looking Toyota Tundra up towards the front. Looks like a little bit of damage on that truck, but as of right now, doesn't appear to be affecting him all too much.
We're lapping number 9 of James Lorello. Excuse me, I cannot say that one more time. He's going his 12th lap down. That truck is very much about he's got a top speed about 144. So I don't think that truck has much left in it for the rest of this race. They might want to take a look at that and maybe pull him off the track because it's a little bit dangerous out there, I'd say, for that truck to be that slow.
And looks like Guyvo, number 17 machine, might be headed down pit road. He is. He's headed down pit road all by himself here, Cameron. And that's really not what you want to see. Now, up at the top of the screen, all these drivers now just about in their pit window. We said about 19 to 20 laps or so. And up at the top of the screen, you're seeing that it's been about 20 laps since a lot of these trucks were on pit road, Cameron. Will we see pit lane busy this time by?
I think that once Guyvo came down pit road, all of these drivers are going to have to be thinking about that. And it looks like Doug Milliner and Zach Howell have just announced their intentions to pit in. So we'll see what the rest of the field intends to do. Doug Neal also pitting in this lap. And Peter, we've been talking about all race how tough green flag pitting is. One of the things you have to worry about, as we see a couple trucks up here, it looks like the top 5 at least, top 6, 7 have all decided to come down pit road. Look for speeding. No speeding penalties. Get your car down to at least 55 miles an hour at that first entry line. And looks like most of the drivers were pretty well in that. But I was going to say this didn't happen, but, wrecks coming to pit road are not uncommon at restrictor plate tracks.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely with the brake package that these trucks run, very difficult to end your pit box as well. All these drivers, looks like Chris Darling might have overshot his pit box just a little bit. Meanwhile, now everyone else starting to roll off pit road, and looks like the race off pit road will be won by the number 51 machine of Bilson. We'll have to see how Guyvo sorts out, because Guyvo, remember, he will be at speed in the number 17 machine. Let's see if we can see just how far he's behind. And Cameron, looks like possibly the number 17 machine might have had trouble getting in his pit box as well, because it doesn't look like he's going to catch the lead pack here.
He is quite a bit behind, so definitely did not make up the time he wanted to. Race off pit road here. Here's Aaron Mack and the 51 of Paul Bilson trying to race off there. Of course, Aaron Mack is a lap down, so not really for position, but he wants to stay up there because, that's going to net him a gain if the caution comes out. He wants to be that first car one lap down, and being right there behind the two drivers who are going to cycle out to be the leaders, he's sitting pretty.
Cameron, I'm just amazed at how stratified this field is now. We got Bilson and Snare together. Then behind them, we got the 25 and the 50 together. Back behind them, it's quite a gap, about 4 seconds back to the 151 machine, who's just now working his way off into turn number 1. Here he is on board. Good news for the 151 is he's got a couple of friends with him out there on the racetrack. So you do know that the more trucks you have with you in the group, the faster that group tends to be. So now the question is, can this group of cars from 5th place on back run down the 3rd and 4th place machines of Edwards and Snare, as well as the 25 and the 51 up at the front of Hammond and Bilson? In fact, those two cars now battling it out. So it looks like that second group of trucks was able to catch Bilson and the 43 of Snare. So 4-truck battle for the race lead now that we have crossed the halfway distance here at Daytona.
Absolutely. And now that little pack behind them, that 6-truck pack now being led by 37 of Zach Howell. You know, now that those two packs have kind of merged in front of them, they probably want to think about getting in line and kind of trying to work together to run them down, because they are about 6 seconds behind, and they do have more trucks in their packs. So they really need to think about doing that if they want to run, you know, that pack of trucks down. It definitely is possible, and if they do start working together, they run them down about 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, a little bit of connection issues there with Cameron Rich's microphone. Hopefully that clears up. But back up at the front, Paul Bilson leading over Mitchell Snare. So things have now sorted back to where Paul is leading the race here. Mitchell sitting in second. Of course, we usually are talking about Mitchell Adams, the reigning series champion. He's not in the field here tonight, had another event to attend to, but hopefully we'll see Mitchell Adams in the field again next week. He had 8 wins last season, I should say, in the Truck Series, and I'm sure we'll see him back in victory lane here in the Simbox Truck Series. A little bit of connection issues out of the number 43 machine, and Cameron, like you said, it's a little bit of a Russian roulette of whose car is popping out there on the racetrack.
Absolutely, and I want to apologize for us here in the booth too. We were having some as well, both myself and Peter. So, not anything that either of us can control. But up here at the front of the field, see 4 trucks here. That's Edwards, Bilson, Hammond, and Snare. They've been 4 of the trucks that have been near the front all night and have managed to keep themselves out of trouble enough to, you know, keep themselves in the top 4 without much damage that's slowing them down. Of course, that 51 of Paul Bilson probably having the most damage of all the 4. His rear end a little bit kicked out sideways, yawed out, if you want to say, and definitely doing a good job of keeping up in the lead right now.
Cameron, at the top of the screen, I've left up the previous lap, and I'm trying to do that so the folks at home can kind of see whether or not this second group of people are catching and just what their lap times are like. But if you're looking at the left-hand side of your screen, that's telling a more telling tale right now. That lead group of cars have pulled away now up to 7 seconds over the 5th place 151 machine of Acworth over Shoffett. Dudley sitting in 7th, Maurer, Howell, and then it is another gap back to the 84 of Buck. But right now, this top 10 really stratified into 3 separate groups. In fact, let's see if we can go back and see the 84 and the 47 there working together. 2 very fast trucks. We know Chris Darling's fast. He won last week in the Lynchburg duels, and the 84 of Buck also very quick last week. But these trucks now find themselves 15 seconds behind the race lead.
Yeah, and
possibly a little bit of a connection issues there with Cameron Rich. Not 100% sure, Cameron. Hopefully you can get the microphone all sorted out there, but we have now got 43 laps to go. Mitchell Snare in the number 43 machine sitting in second. What a race it has been for him so far. Let's see if we can kind of see the gap right now between the number 25 of Hammond and the car behind, because there you see it. Now 7.5 seconds between 4th and 5th. That gap between 1st and 5th continuing to grow out there on the racetrack right now. And Cameron, definitely this race has kind of been turned on its head. A lot of cautions, a lot of accidents in the early going, but now we're getting a little bit of a green flag run. We've already had a green flag pit stop, and it won't be all too long before we're talking about green flag pit stops yet again. Well, I guess a little bit of connection issues there with Cameron Rich and his microphone, so we'll let him see if he can get that settled out. We'll check back in here in a couple laps or so. But looking through the field towards the back half of the top 10, currently Stan Hausman is taking that spot over TJ Buck. Chris Darling sitting down in 12th in that slightly damaged race machine. You see the number 14 machine there. That number 14 machine finds himself a couple of laps down. That's Jeff Price running inside the top 20, but unfortunately finds himself 3 laps down, 1 lap behind the number 35 machine of Aaron Mack. First truck 1 lap down right now is the number 6 machine of Doug Milliner. He's running with the lead group, so if the caution flag was to come out, he would be the lucky dog. And that man right there is hoping to see a caution, but
lucky
definitely...
dog position right now.
Yeah, okay, well, we got Cameron Rich back. Cameron, how's it going?
Everything short back, too.
Well, maybe a little bit of issues here with Discord. Not 100% sure. I think my mic has been live the whole time, so great to have you back. Maybe the Discord server having a little bit of a connection here issue mid-race, but we're here live at Daytona International Speedway. Still up at the front, it is the number 51, of Paul Bilson leading the way, Cam.
Absolutely. I can verify for both of our accounts. We've been talking all race. If you can't hear us, it's because everything's having an issue. It's pretty much been the way of 2020 so far. We'll put it up to the year not being up to the year being not just enough. But basically, no change up in the top 4. Really, the top 4 so far, kind of not really changing so far, and they really have no reason to. They are pulling away from that second pack about half a second per lap, and you see that second pack right there, kind of side by side. They really need to kind of see if they can get in line to try to run down that first pack, because like we said, Peter, if they could just work together and get a good little draft going, they could run down that pack in under 10 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember back in the NASCAR Racing 2003 days, there was that little button that says stay in line and work together. Well, they all need to start spamming that button right now and get all those drivers in line with, not only in line on the racetrack, but in line with each other, in sync with one another, because they're still losing ground to the lead group. They have enough trucks to run down that lead 4 trucks that we see right now that is led by Bilson, Snare, Edwards, and Hammond, but really, this second group, they're continuing to race one another as the 00 of Shoffett goes to the high side.
Yeah, really, and we're going to have to start thinking about pit stops here pretty soon once again, because we are going to be in that window here pretty soon. So that is a golden opportunity for them to kind of make a lot of ground too. They that second pack can make a lot of time on the first pack if they just kind of work together and kind of get that good draft out of the pit road, because that can be very beneficial.
Yeah, back up at the front, Bilson continues to lead over Mitchell Snare. And Cameron, I think for these drivers in this lead group, man, they're just going to ride together. They know that they've been pulling away from that second group that continues to lose ground. It's now up to 10 seconds between Bilson and the 5th place truck. They just can't seem to get on the same wavelength back there, and this lead pack just pulling away.
Yeah, and about 9 seconds behind them, we have the 39 of Stan Hausman and TJ Buck. They're working pretty well together, and right behind them, Chris Darling and Ron Govo. Definitely a couple trucks that have been very. All of those trucks have been working together very well, and they really need to get up to that second group that's trying to run down the leader, now 10 seconds behind, and kind of give them a little bit of oomph to try to get up to that lead pack.
Yeah, and this group of trucks now find themselves about 32 seconds behind the race lead. That's Guyvo, Neal. We have the number 88 up there of Mooney as well. Nicholas Bradley in this group of trucks as well. The 15th place truck right now is Nicholas Bradley, the last car on the lead lap. You see him working his way through the trial underneath the number 88 of Mooney right there. So we're down to just 15 trucks on the lead lap, Cameron. Pretty crazy start to this race, but now starting to calm down, especially once this field fanned out, once we had that green flag pit stop.
Yeah, and your first truck 1 lap down is the number 6 of Doug Milliner. He is the 5th car in line in that lead pack, kind of giving them a bit of an extra push. And right behind him, Colin Ullery, who we saw earlier on this race, 33 laps down. So whatever damage he had was fixed He's got a lot of speed in that truck now, holding up with the leaders, but just quite a bit of ways behind. 33 laps after those repairs have been made.
Yeah, sometimes that long of a repair probably means they put a whole new engine in that machine. So definitely trying to pick up some spots, hoping a couple of other drivers fall out here in the closing laps, but we do only have 36 laps to go, so he'd have to see a caution flag pretty darn soon for him to pick up all too many more spots. Unfortunately, we saw in the chat, he was actually in the chat while he was out of the race car getting that damage repaired, had 20 minutes of damage to fix or so. Meanwhile, number 51 of Bilson continues to work his way around the racetrack. We're looking here, Cam, at about 5 or 6 more laps till we'll see these trucks back on pit road, what will primarily be the stop that could make or break the race. They do have 2 more pit stops left in the Simbox 250 here tonight. If you're just now joining us, Simbox jumping on board for not only the sponsor here tonight, not only the sponsor on the side of the number 43 of Mitchell Snare, but also the series sponsor, Simbox, making button boxes for your iRacing needs. In fact, all of your sim racing needs. They're really a cost-effective, good quality product. I know, Cameron, I've gone out there searching for button boxes in my sim racing career, and I've always been just surprised at how expensive it is to put 6 buttons in a little box. But Simbox definitely one of the most affordable options I have seen, and definitely putting together a quality product.
Absolutely, and like we said, you'll never meet a sim racer who doesn't want more buttons. There's a lot of things, and even these things. You got brake by, you got ignition switches, you got starter buttons, you got probably buttons to change views and stuff like that. There's just a lot of things to change in iRacing, and you just never have enough buttons. So definitely, I would check Simbox out. They will give you more buttons, and they will give you buttons for a good price.
And here is Doug Neal, the man behind Simbox himself, running right behind Ron Gaivo in the number 17 machine. We saw Gaivo with a fantastic job squeaking his way through one of the early accidents that we had here tonight at Daytona. Haven't had a caution in quite some time now, Cameron. In fact, it has been about half an hour since the green flag last wave. So these drivers down a long green flag run. We're now expecting to see pit stops here in just a few laps. Remember, we did have a couple of early adopters on pit road. One of those drivers was the number 33 machine of Jeffrey Johnson. And I believe Johnson right now, he is trying to go as far as he can to see if he can get back on sequence with a lot of these other drivers.
Of course, he being 1 lap down, he is running 17th, right where he started. So he needs to get back on sequence, because I think that non-pit stop that he did kind of, didn't net a good result for him. He kind of had to pit on the green flag when everybody else didn't have to. So we'll see how that actually plays for him. I think these 4 trucks up here, really these 5 or 6 trucks now, as we lap a couple more trucks and they are able to hang on, are going to be pretty content with just kind of holding station. We've kind of not really seen a whole lot of racing up here in the front. It looks like Mitchell Snare is very content with just riding behind Paul Bilson as he kind of rides up the track there for a little bit, but not trying to make a move. I think he might have just been trying to get some air on the nose or something. But neither him nor Bill Edwards, Tim Hammond, they seem to be very content with just kind of riding out these last 20 or so laps until they get closer to the end, and then just kind of fighting it between themselves.
Yeah, this lead group of cars, they have been actually a little bit fortunate. They've caught a couple of the other trucks, and remember we were saying that second group of trucks was a little bit stronger. They had the numbers at one point. Well, now, as this lead group of trucks have just stayed in line with one another, worked together, it's been so impressive with the gap they have put on the 5th place of the number 971 of Maurer. It is now, folks, look at this gap. It is now 14.2 seconds between that man right there, the number 25 machine of Hammond and Nathan Maurer, and that gap continues to grow. You can see their last lap times. Yeah, the 971 was a little bit faster, but we got leaders on pit road here, Cam, a little bit early. And just like that, the number 51 of Paul Bilson gonna get down to the pit road speed. Hopefully no pit road speeding penalties or anything like that with how difficult it is to get these trucks down to their pit road speed.
We saw Mitchell Snare kind of put up the flag that he was pitting there. And here is our second group of trucks there coming down pit road as well. So they're going to try to just keep on strategy and keep on keeping on, see if they can do something with that. Paul Bilson down and away. There's Mitchell Snare coming out, and Tim Hammond. Looks like a very good sequence for all three of those trucks. Right behind him, Bill Edwards. So looks like they were pretty lockstep. There's Colin Ullery with them. There's Doug Milliner. Looks like they're going to come out just about how they were running before. And they're going to see if they can keep that gap that they are building over that second group, keep that building up a little bit. And I think that was a very good sequence for all those trucks. And, Peter, it is a little bit easier to coordinate pitting when you are part of the team because, you can talk to each other. But not all these trucks are in the same team. So it was pretty impressive how they were able to do that as well as they did.
Here we are on board with the number 50 of Edwards there, and Cameron possibly in danger of losing the draft off the truck in front of him. He's got a little bit of a gap there. I believe that is Ullery right behind the number 25 machine of Hammond. Meanwhile, Hammond right on the back bumper now of Snare. He's definitely got the draft. Look at this launch that he's got here down the front stretch as we now just have 29 laps to go. They're catching up to one of the slower trucks, and I think Hammond thinking a little bit better here of making a run, but we could be down to just a 3-car battle up at the front with Ullery in the number 62 machine multiple laps down.
I think Bill Edwards will be fine. He's got that push behind from Doug Milliner, they've actually caught pretty well back up the pack. You see right there. So all that danger he was in now pretty much gone. He's going to get himself right back up there. So back up to a 4-car battle for the lead. Now, I'm kind of wondering what the 62 of Ullery and what Doug Milliner are going to do here, because they are obviously not on the lead lap. One of the things that is always prevalent at these super speed races is if you have lap trucks up here, Peter, who do they go with?
That's a difficult question. If you are a lap truck and you have what I'd say a fully competent truck, your truck is on the pace and maybe you've just lost the draft, that looked like possibly the number 27, was it, that hit the outside wall just a little bit coming out of turn number 2. But going back to your point, if you're one of the trucks that have no damage, you've lost the draft due to some reason, whatever that reason might be, I'm always a fan of sticking your truck down there on the inside groove because that's your shortest way around the racetrack. You know that all the leaders, as soon as they get around you, they're going to jump back down into that groove and give you as much of the draft as possible. However, if you're a truck that has a lot of damage and you're going to fall down a lap anyway, it's kind of in your best interest to stay high. Let the leaders get the preferred lane. Make sure you're as visible as you can to them so that you don't have any type of Kevin LePage incident. But definitely, it depends on the situation where you let the lead lap cars pass you.
Yeah, especially there's been a lot of instances where it might be better just to abort completely and go, down below that yellow line, because sometimes it just causes a bit of more of a mess when you have to go low or high or whatever. So we've actually seen that a lot this race where they've kind of just gotten well out of the way there.
And Cameron, I think it is about time here as we continue to wind down. Now just 26 laps to go for that man right there, the man who has now led the most laps at the top of the screen. You can see Bilson leads that battle. Led 21 laps so far here tonight. The 25 of Hammond led 18. Matt Cherry, who's out of the race, has led 10. Mitchell Snare sitting in second. He's also led 10 as they have caught up here, Cameron, to the number 17 of Guyvo and the number 77 of Neal. Remember, Neal was was the pole sitter here tonight, the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner. Now, going back to what I said just a couple laps ago, those trucks, they've lost the lead draft, but those are fully capable trucks. They're doing what I said. They're staying on the inside line, and you can see how that has allowed them to stick with this lead group of trucks. If they had decided to go to the high line, they might have lost the draft just a little bit. But they're definitely now going to be in the fray to possibly win the lucky dog if a caution was to come out. But just 25 laps here to go in the Simbox 250.
And it's kind of funny how it turned out. You got about 4 trucks up here fighting for the win, and you got 4 trucks fighting for a potential lucky dog spot. So you got kind of two races going on up here, and both the groups of drivers, of course, have the well and truly right to be up there doing what they're doing. But you got to think those lead lap trucks are probably going to get frustrated with it a little bit.
And Cameron, I don't know if you just saw that, but it was very, very tight. Here we go on board with the number 50 machine. And look how little the number 50 can see out his front bumper. And look at this. There's the number 88 machine of Mooney. Just got around him, and just like that, it was almost a collision up towards the front. We don't want to see that anymore here tonight. So good job there by the 50 of Edwards. He's going to have to deal now with Chris Darling, who's going to fall a lap down in the number 47 truck. So that is going to put us now down to just 11 trucks on the lead lap with 24 laps to go.
See how fast things happen here. Really, there's no better situation than a fast truck coming up on a slow truck. Because, when all the fast trucks are kind of around each other, it looks pretty slow, They're not going very fast on the screen relative to each other because they're all kind of going the same speed. But when you're in that truck and you come up on a slow truck, you need to change pants after that one.
Yeah, and we saw Chris Darling. He stayed on that high groove, Cameron, and let the lead pack go by. Well, now he is definitely in danger himself of losing the draft, but for Paul Bilson, he sees clean racetrack in front of him for right now, about to go around, and we have a caution flag that's come out here at Daytona, and we're gonna have to see if we can possibly find out what this caution flag has come out for, because I think it is one of the cars that was kind of inside the top 5 here, the 151 of Acworth. There's some slow trucks in front of them, and a little bit of contact there, goes around, truck spinning everywhere, and it looks like the 151 gonna squeak away with not too much damage. So that is good news for that 151 machine. We'll see if we can go back and get another look of this one, perhaps, probably from high atop our blimp cam here. They were catching up to some lap traffic here. Cameron, do you think that played a part in this?
I do think so, because you saw the closing rate right there. It is quite big. And then you got 3 wide. You got trucks that are kind of not in a particular lane, and then it just kind of, you see what happens there. But I think he definitely did get away with that a lot better than he probably should have. Not a lot of damage on the truck, and that probably should have been a bigger wreck than it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job by the whole field, kind of avoiding him. Meanwhile, it does look like Doug Milliner and Cameron, we've been talking about that number 6 truck for quite some time, because I believe he is going to be the Lucky Dog Award winner when everything gets sorted out. We'll have to confirm that or not, but currently he's being scored as the first truck 1 lap down in that machine right there. Pace truck lights are still on, and Cameron, I'm expecting to see pit road be very, very busy here, but one thing that's very interesting to note, we're just outside of the pit window with 22 laps to go.
So I would not be at all surprised to see some of these trucks come down to pit twice during this caution, maybe once now and then maybe once at the right before we go back green. And you're going to, if these drivers, have the button set up, there's another sponsor plug for Simbox. If they have a button set up to shut their car off, on their Simbox button box, they might want to shut their car off and save as much fuel during this caution as they can, because they're going to need all they can get once we go back green.
And look at this, Cameron. Looks like the race off pit road is going to be won by the number 25 of Hammond and Mitchell Snare behind him. But Bilson in the number 51 machine, he's going to come off in the 3rd position. So Hammond, a great pit stop for that crew. But we are under caution here tonight. Let's see if we can bring up the race summary down there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. 4 cautions here tonight for 9 laps, and those first few cautions, Cameron, they were absolutely deadly for a good portion of the field in the Simbox 250. We'd been green flag for quite some time, had back-to-back green flag pit stops. It had been about 50 laps since we had last seen a caution flag come out, but here we go. Going to set us up for about a 20-lap shootout.
And, we're getting down to crunch time. I was looking at the pit stops here. Paul Bilson, he took 4 tires, and Mitchell Snare and Tim Hammond both took 2. So maybe Paul Bilson's thinking, hey, I need as much grip as I can get towards the end of this race. That was a pretty long green flag run, and they didn't take tires, or they probably didn't take 4 tires on those green flag pit stops, obviously. So I think he's thinking he's going to need all that grip he can get for these last 20 laps. So he's only 3rd place. I think he will be good to go, but definitely interesting strategy from the front couple people up here.
And that man right there, Doug Milliner, was indeed your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. Looks like he is going to get back on the lead lap. It appears, at least for now. We'll have to see how live timing scores him here in just a little bit. But Cameron, I did want to mention down there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, it's the current weather conditions here around this racetrack. Possibly that number 51 machine of Paul Bilson is looking at that middle number, that track temperature, 116 degrees Fahrenheit. It's up a degree or two since the start of the race, and possibly that's why he was wanting that extra grip that 4 tires gives you.
It's kind of weird. It must be a Florida thing, but the track has shaded over a little bit since we have been racing, and yet it's gotten hotter. It was about 115, 114 when we went green, and it's now a little bit hotter, so it's just one of them Florida things, I would think. But I think a lot of people in racing, they think that tires don't matter at Daytona. When you come down to the end of the race and you're coming down, when you need all the grip you can get, I think 4 tires is definitely going to give him the confidence he needs to make the moves to try to win that race.
Now, the one thing about tires at Daytona is tires were so much more important before they repaved this racetrack. I know, Cameron, you and I used to race on that old bumpy surface here in iRacing back about 10 years ago now, and it was difficult to hold onto your car on old tires, but when they repaved it, they made it a lot smoother. Tires don't matter as much as they used to, but they still matter here at Daytona more so than at Talladega, the other superspeedway that we will be going to this season in the Simbox Truck Series. Pace truck headed down pit road, and the green flag going to be back in the air here at Daytona. Huge jump for the number 25 of Hammond. That outside groove, Mitchell Snare just not getting going there, Cameron, and that 43 just falling like a rock through the field.
Not at all, and already battle for the lead. Here comes Paul Bilson on the outside line. He has help from Bill Edwards. He's going to try to get around Tim Hammond and go right back to where he was in the lead with 4 tires. So definitely thinking the long game here. He's not going to waste any time. But here comes Mitchell Snare. He's trying to make some moves. We got some trucks ducking off on the inside of the apron. I think they're going to be well out of the way to not cause any issues. But all of a sudden, Peter, we have about 7 or 8 trucks up here who are back in the fight for the win.
Yeah, and TJ Buck there going up the middle. Snare going to fall now outside of the top 5 as he cuts down in front of the number 15 machine. Haven't talked about the number 15 machine of Robert Dudley for some time. He was one of those drivers who was in one of the second or third packs. He's now going to be back in this lead pack. So great to have the field once again compressed together for this shootout here at Daytona, but it has been the Hammond and Bilson show for a good portion of this race. As you can see at the top of your screen, the 51 and the 25 have combined to lead over half of the Simbox 250, but now we're starting to see that number 25 machine trying to assert himself once again as the race leader with a little bit of help from Bill Edwards.
Another driver who we haven't talked about a lot, number 37 of Zach Howell. He's the 5th car on the inside line, got himself back up in the lead pack there in the top 10. So we'll see if that beautiful metallic blue and red truck can make some headway. And a couple trucks up there on the high side. You see Mitchell Snare, he really had a poor restart, just could not get going, and it's still kind of affecting him right there. Hasn't been able to get much of his position back, but he is up there, 2nd car on the outside line now.
Yeah, and see all those cars race off into turn number 1. Great shot here as we now just have 17 more laps to go in the Simbox 250, the season opener for the NSRA Simbox Truck Series. Currently race led by the number 25 of Hammond, but like you mentioned, Cameron, we're starting to see some new names moving in there, and I'm really curious to know out of this whole field what the number 6 machine can do. That's Doug Milliner. Remember, was your Lucky Dog Award winner under this most recent caution. He is now up in the 12th position and trying to make moves towards the front. Can't rule out that number 6 machine. Got that lucky caution and now starting to run down some of the trucks in front of him.
Absolutely. He's shown he has the speed, and he has the help up the front. He was able to draft with some of the leaders up earlier this race. But speaking of lead, number 84 of TJ Buck, he had a huge run down the backstretch last time. Passed about 4 or 5 trucks on the outside line with help from that number 43 of Mitchell Snare, who's, ooh, big trouble. He got turned on the backstretch. Here we go. Bad bump from the 43 of Snare on the 84 of Buck. And I believe there is one of our trucks going towards the inside wall. That was a hard hit. Can't see who that was. But I saw that bump coming from a mile away, and it just was a bad shot to one of the sides of the bumper. And you saw what happened there. TJ Buck got a little bit squirrely right in front of Mitchell Snare. And there they went, Peter.
Yeah, definitely a lot of trucks up at the front, including Paul Bilson, who's led a lot of laps in that number 51 machine, also involved. Look at the 43 of Snare. Looks like the number 14 back there. And man, like you mentioned, just a big accident. There's TJ Buck. We'll see if we can get one more look here at this one, perhaps from the number 14 machine. Because, Cameron, you can see this bad bump happen right there, and it was on from there. Definitely a lot of trucks getting involved. There's Bilson. Hopefully Bilson doesn't have too much damage, but it was a little bit of a ping-pong ball. Oh, man, Bilson got hit right there at the back end of that one. In fact, let's see if we can ride on board with that number 51 machine here. There he is on board with him right here. Let's watch that bad bump happen once again here coming out of turn number 2 right there.
Yeah, it looks like TJ Buck moved up a little bit and 43 moved down a little bit. It looks like they just kind of weren't really lockstep in the drafting, and just, that can happen, Peter. That's especially on the corner exit, because you can't see around these trucks. That's really where you're going to see the bad bumps happen most of the time.
Let's see if we can go on board with Chris Darling, because Chris Darling did a little bit of extracurriculars, I would say, here. Here we go on board with him, and watch all of this mess happen out front. There's the number 23 of White right in front of him, and sees all the smokes, gets on the binders, goes all the way down the racetrack, makes the back straight into a little bit of a chicane. And Cameron, there's the chicane that you run on the Daytona road course, but sometimes some spinning cars can make that into a chicane for you.
Oh yeah, he took the Rolex chicane just a little bit before the real Rolex chicane, but it was funny seeing him go on board down there, because it is very bumpy down there. It is extremely bumpy, and your truck will hop around a lot, and you will get some air. So definitely a bit of an off-road excursion, even on-road.
Well, we did see some trucks come down pit road here, Cameron. We mentioned that they weren't in their window to making it to the end, including that man right there, the number 25 of Tim Hammond. He's going to come back out there on the racetrack. I'm sure Bilson, one of those trucks that had come down pit road, he's still sitting in his pit box getting as much damage repaired as possible, and that is just a huge disappointment for that number 51. We heard in the chat last week that he is the driver that tends to have a target on his back, just has bad luck all the time, and we're seeing that here again tonight.
Absolutely, and we know, commentating on 3Wide TV, Peter, there's always that one driver in the league who is just has the target on their back. No matter what happens, something always, and unfortunately for him, he was one of them that got pinged tonight. But I am interested to see how bad off he will be, because he did get hit pretty well, at the end of that wreck, but it was a pretty square hit. So not the best situation, but if you're going to get hit at Daytona, you're going to want that hit to be square.
Yeah, and Paul Bilson in that number 51 machine, he's coming back out there on the racetrack. TJ Buck in the number 84 right behind him. Meanwhile, we did have a couple of trucks, you saw it there at the top of your screen briefly, stay out under this caution flag, including Jacob Schaffet, Doug Milliner, Stan Hausman, and Brett Ackard in the number 151. So the front 4 trucks electing to see if they can stretch the fuel mileage to the end. And Cameron, could they be thinking about the possibility here of more cautions in the closing laps? Definitely not out of the realm of possibility as these laps wind down. It always seems like the action ramps up right towards the end. How about Chris Darling in the number 47 machine? We saw him do a little bit of extracurricular right there under that accident. He's found himself now up there inside the top 6 on the outside. It'll be the third truck on that high line, right behind the 151 of Acworth. So he's one of those drivers, Chris Darling, who came down pit road. So definitely, possibly, he might be in a good position here. And don't forget, we do have 2 attempts at a green-white checker here in the National Sim Racing Series Simbox PC's Premier Truck Series.
Absolutely. And you know, for all these trucks that didn't pit, more cautions, unless we get to that realm of the green-white checker, is only going to help them. So, you know, they're probably hoping that we get one more under regulation, but probably no more after that. Remember that second car, or that first car in the outside row, that number 6, Doug Milliner, he was our Brookstone lucky dog last caution. Now up here fighting for the lead of this race with just a few laps to go. Green flag is out. Your leader right now, Jacob Schoffett, right next to that number 6 of Doug Milliner, who we just said was the Brookstone lucky dog. He's actually going to get a big shot out there into the lead right now. Schoffett did not get a good restart. Looks like he missed a shift or something, because he got going pretty well, but once the shift happened, the field is actually still kind of stacking up behind him. Number 39 behind him, trying to get around him, and that truck is just still not going, Peter.
Yeah, that 00 machine now falling outside of the top 7. Let's see if we can see. There he is, right down there on the inside. Truck's going around him 3 wide here. That's Ron Gaivo in the number 17 machine, right between Ullery and the 00 machine. Gaivo now running in the 8th position as of right now, trying to work his way towards the front here in the closing lap. So things now going to kind of settle down here as we now have had 1 lap under green. Look at Gaivo trying to get a run around the number 5 machine of Adams. He is a couple of laps down in that machine right there, but once again up at the front, things starting to get a little bit racy. Doug Milliner continues to be your race leader.
Couple trucks up here have spent the majority of the race a lap down. That 47 of Chris Darling, of course, and right behind him the 33 of Jeffrey Johnson. Another caution is out. Didn't see what happened. I think there's some trouble in the back of the pack. Don't see anything right off the top of my head. Find out where that happened.
Yeah, I think the answer is right here, Cameron. That's the 43 of Mitchell Snare. Had a great race here tonight. That engine just grenaded, and all that oil coming out the back of that machine. It looks like possibly that oil got to him and went up the racetrack. It's made some contact with the outside wall. That might have been just enough to bring out the caution flag here at Daytona. He was the only car that I could see off the pace, so I didn't see anything else happen here, Cameron. But I think the number 43 machine here bringing out the caution, unfortunately, with a blown motor here in the final 10 laps.
And Peter, you know, that's such a debilitating feeling for a driver. You know, you got to think Mitchell Snare, he was up in the top 5 all race, top 3 really, one of the strongest drivers, made it through all the mess, and 10 laps to go, you know, gets involved in that incident and the motor just grenades. I had that happen to me last week in another league race. Top like 2 all night long, and just it unravels at the end. It is honestly, that's a bad feeling. He's got to be feeling pretty bad about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he actually would have been the Brookstone Lucky Dog Award winner if he did not have that trouble. Not 100% sure if that is true or not. It actually, well, you know, looking back, it actually might be this man right here, Jeff Price. In fact, I believe it is, because the number 43 was the reason for the caution. So there is your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner, working his way around the racetrack to get one of his laps back. He's currently being scored 3 laps down in that number 14 machine. Remember, Jeff Price started this one up at the front, and unfortunately it has not gone to plan for him tonight with quite a bit of damage on that race machine. But we are now under 10 laps to go here in tonight's Simbox 250 in the Simbox Truck Series here in the National Sim Racing Association. Great to be on board here on 3Y TV. This is the first points paying event that we've broadcasted here for the National Sim Racing Association here on 3Y TV. Thank you for joining us in the chat. We got Red Leg saying tough break. Yeah, absolutely tough break for that number 43 machine. We got Autumn Koger saying, Jacob, go get it, boy. Yeah, go get it. We got Mr. Tucker rooting on Doug Neal, and the number 77 machine as one of the other cars flashes around there. Cameron, was that possibly another car possibly getting one of their laps back? Not 100% sure who that was. But definitely some great people in the chat. We got the Windsors and Tanaka rooting on Bilson. And let's see if we can see that number 51 machine of Bilson. He's a little bit further back, right behind Zach Howell. And Cameron, we were worried about the damage on that thing. We said he got hit kind of square on the side. And at least from the front, as we ride on board with Zach Howell, it doesn't look too bad on the 51 of Bilson.
No, it could definitely be a lot worse, and that front end is going to be your most aero-critical part of the truck. You know, looks like most of his damage is actually going to be centered around the back. That left side of the back is going to be a little bit crinkled right there. But you know, that I think if that truck has any speed left in it, he should be able to maybe get around some of these guys in front of him and still fight for the win. We still have a lot of time here, Peter. You know, we're going to have probably about 6 laps to go at Daytona. That could be a lot of time, depending on how the green flag kind of plays out here.
And this caution flag could be a saving grace for the number 6 machine of Doug Milliner, currently your race leader. I mean, you have to think, Cameron, that that man right there, the number 6 of Milliner, he might have just been a little bit short on fuel if it wasn't for this caution. A couple of trucks there headed off pit road trying to beat the pace car out, including, I think that was the 00 of Schaffent. Who was trying to beat the pace truck out. And there goes the number 88 machine on by as well. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the night Michael Mooney was hoping for. He finds himself 40 laps behind the lead group. There actually is, surprisingly, Cameron, a little bit of a battle back there. We got Justin White 37 laps down. Andrew Himmelman back out there on the racetrack as well in his number 4 machine. In fact, that number 4 machine looks pretty clean here from the left-hand side. The crew definitely having to do an engine replacement on that truck. Finds himself in 30th. So we've had a couple of the Himmelmans in the chat here tonight. Unfortunately, not the night that Andrew was looking for. But it'll be interesting to see if any of these positions towards the back of the pack end up changing here in the closing laps, because we will just have 7 laps to go when we go back to green flag here in just under a lap.
Yeah, not a lot. It is not a lot of time as far as the numbers go, 7 laps, but it can be a lot of time as far as time goes. So we'll definitely see how this goes. And a look at that in the chat. Mr. Will Worsler just saying 3-wide TV plus Peter Short plus live sim racing is a better Friday night. How are you doing? You're doing pretty well. Will Worsler, a regular on 3-wide TV. Good to see you here. Hope you are enjoying the show. It's definitely going to ramp up a little bit here in these closing laps, Peter, because we have a lot of trucks up here who haven't had a sniff of the lead all night. But look at this. We have a shot of winning.
Absolutely. Pace truck now headed down pit road. It is the number 6 machine of Doug Milliner leading us back to green. Good restart for Milliner. Gets on the loud pedal. Oh, the fit 151 of Acworth might have missed the shift there. Little bit of contact from the 41. Guyvo getting into side of Bill Edwards back there. And all of a sudden, Cameron, you can tell that the laps are winding down because just 7 more laps to go here at Daytona. And action all up here in the front of the pack.
And we're going to have to see how good all of these guys are on fuel. We know that 25 of Tim Hammond, he's well good. But 971, Nathan Maurer, one of the drivers who's been kind of in the mid-pack all night. He's got a bit of damage on his truck, kind of trying to split the 3-wide there. Trouble in the back, Chris Darling, and I believe that was Jeffrey Johnson are in it. No caution as of yet, but look at the lead. Nathan Maurer has actually split the 2 leaders and gotten that damaged truck into the lead for now. But here comes Doug Milliner. Back on the inside line. We're seeing a replay of the accident on the backstretch right there. Tough break for Chris Darling. That's going to be a hit into the inside wall and Jeffrey Johnson. But for the time being, Peter, your Brookstone Lucky Dog winner a few cautions back. Doug Milliner, we don't know if he's good on fuel, but he is good on the racetrack right now, still leading into turn number 1.
And we're coming to just 5 laps to go here at Daytona in the Simbox 250. That number 6 machine leading over the number 50 of Bill Edwards. Remember, Edwards started all the way back in 36th position. Milliner started back in 31st. So a couple of drivers who started 30th position on back got their way to the front. They've kept their trucks clean all night long. Milliner found himself 1 lap down not all too long ago, now up at the front. Like I said, Cameron, after he got that Lucky Dog award, I said, I got to keep an eye on him. I want to see just how far he can get his way through the field. But here comes the number 971 of Maurer getting himself up towards the front. Maurer and Hammond battling it out here at Daytona.
And we are side by side all the way about 4 rows back. Good battle for the lead here. Nathan Maurer, he came out of nowhere, really. He's been mid-pack all race, kind of trying to get himself up into a good position to win, and he looks like he is in the best position right now he can be, right there with 25 of Tim Hammond and the 39 of Stan Houseman, another driver who's kind of not been up front all race, now sniffing a chance at the lead.
Yeah, all of a sudden things starting to get really dicey up in the front. That 971, where did he come from, Cameron? We haven't talked much about Nathan Maurer. We've said he's been on the lead lap. He was in one of those groups that was behind the lead pack. Didn't really have a shot at the win about 30 laps ago, but those cautions have really worked out to his advantage. He now finds himself as the race leader, just 4 more laps to go, under 10 miles here at Daytona. And look at that outside, led by the number 25 of Hammond. That outside line might continue to get a run. Will the number 50 of Edwards have anything to say about it? He's in the 3rd position. They're still shuffling here at Daytona up at the front.
And where do you want to be, Peter, with about 3 laps to go or so up here? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be the 2nd place car? Do you want to be a little bit further behind? Or do you want to be the leader, trying to block yourself and keep everybody behind you?
Oh, that is a good question. Really, I don't want to be up at the front. I want to be in that lead group of cars, that front 3 cars, but I don't want to lead because everyone's going to do all they can to get around you. And speaking of getting around you, here comes the number 50 of Bill Edwards on the high side with help from behind in the number 25 of Hammond. Remember, Hammond's led a lot of laps here tonight, maybe a little bit of bump drafting in the corners. That could be assumed as aggressive driving here as we just have 2 more laps to go here at Daytona.
And look now that 51 of Paul Bilson has gotten himself back in the fray there. He is the 4th car on the inside line. Probably a little bit mad after that last incident. He wants to get himself back to where he's been all night, and that was been in the lead. And we'll see how he can do that. He needs to get around a couple trucks in front of him. But, Peter, having a bit of anger driving definitely does influence how you drive here at Daytona. And I think he's going to be cutting through the field like a hot knife through butter.
Absolutely, and now all of a sudden, Edwards gets shuffled out that outside line. Oh, contact between the 51 and Bilson, and my, oh my, the number 50 machine goes absolutely flying. Edwards does end-over end backwards backflips, and that's going to spell the end of his race. And folks, no caution for that. And up at the front, Maurer gets sideways. We're coming to the white flag here at Daytona. This front group of trucks now split up. And wow, look at that. Howell there going below the yellow line. Got loose, saves it. 3 cars battling for the win here at Daytona. White flag is out.
And into turn number 1, who's going to get it? Maurer and the number 6 of Doug Milliner. Those trucks have been kind of a lap down most of the night tonight, and they're battling for the win. Now they got that 25 of Tim Hammond to try to fend off. He's been one of the trucks in the top 3 all night. So who's going to go with who? Down the back stretch, looks like Maurer.
I'm going to say, the caution flag is out. I actually jumped the gun just a little bit. It wasn't the white flag. We were coming to 2 laps to go. And a caution flag has come out. So we are going to get a green-white checker here at Daytona. We'll have to see exactly what happened here. And I do believe it was happening up in this group of cars right here. The number 37 machine of Howell there getting into contact with the 971, and he goes around contact there with Guyvo. And just like that, we're under caution here at Daytona. So tough break here for the number 37 machine. He was running up near the front. We'll see if we can get another look at this one, Cameron, possibly from high atop in the blimp camera. You see the 37 in the middle, the 971 up high. And there's that contact, hooks him up into the outside wall. Unfortunately, Doug Neal there, your pole sitter in the 77, getting into it as well.
Yeah, it looks like that 39 of Stan Houseman on the bottom might have moved up just a little bit. Not really his fault, though, I'd say. There's just not a lot of room at this racetrack when you're 3 wide. You really, it's really about 2.5 cars wide, if we're going to be honest here. So just, the slightest move when you're 3 wide can cause that. And I don't think there was any contact from him.
Well, that will once again put us under caution. We do have 2 attempts at the green-white checker. And Cameron, Doug Milliner in the number 6 machine, he's currently the race leader. But we have to remember, It has been 21 laps since he was last on pit road. We know that the pit window was about 20 laps. I'm surprised we didn't see him come down to pit because of the fact that we think he might be short of fuel, especially with this green-white checker.
That definitely is a thought he has to have in his head, but he also is probably thinking, now that he's in the lead, he really can't come to pit road because he probably wants to go out here and win this race. That's a tough one because if he goes out there without the fuel and he runs out, that could be a wreck behind him, and then he's gonna, of course, get a bad finish. But if he comes down to pit, he could also be involved in a wreck and get a bad finish too. So I'm glad I'm not him. I'm glad I'm up here in the booth now, not in Doug Milliner's seat, because that's a tough call.
And there is your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner for this caution. It is TJ Buck in the Captain Crunch machine. Unfortunately, it has been crunched once or twice here tonight, Cameron, with all the damage on that truck. Looks like he's going to come down pit road and get some of that damage repaired on that machine. It's a little bit more, maybe take on a little bit more fuel. But Doug Milliner continuing to lead the way. Tim Hammond in second. Stan Hausman in the number 39 machine. He's one of those drivers who's been pretty quiet all night long. And here he is now inside the top three with a shot at getting to victory lane. What about your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner right there? Simbox on the hood. That's Doug Neal. Was involved in this accident that brought out this caution flag. But he's going to stay out there on a racetrack. He knows that going down pit road at this point of the race would put him too far back in the pack, especially because we keep gaining cars on the lead lap. Unfortunately, the number 50 machine of Bill Edwards, Cameron. I mean, Bill Edwards, he was up there. I thought he had a good shot at the win and just got launched into outer space. I think Will Warser in the chat said it. Somebody just flashed between parallel universes. I think that number 50 flipped into one of those parallel universes because Bill Edwards right there, definitely not going to have the finish he was hoping for here tonight. But back up at the front, pace car lights have turned off. Cameron, we're going to have a 2-lap shootout here at Daytona to find out who will win the Simbox 250. 2 attempts. This will be the first attempt of 2 that we might have at a green-white checker, but hopefully we can stay clean and green here to the end.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you, Peter, as a driver, I know my answer to this would probably be something on the lines of just send it and hope for the best. But if you're up here in the top 5 or so, you got a green white checker here at Daytona in the trucks. What are you doing? Do you have any strategy, or are you just kind of hoping for the best, hoping that you don't go helicoptering off like Bill Edwards did?
Man, if you are the number 6 of Milliner, you are thinking about just one thing right now, and that is the restart. Your restart could make or break the race because, Cameron, you want a good restart, but you don't want too good of a restart. Because if you get too good of a restart, what's going to happen is you're going to leave yourself a sitting duck out there. You're going to have the rest of the field drafting up behind you, and you just have to try and time your restart so that the truck that's immediately behind you is able to go with you at the same time. Now, there are 2 Fords on that inside line, so we'll have to see whether the 6 and the 39 work together here for this restart. But we are coming to the green flag, 2 laps to go. Who will win the Simbox 250, folks? We're going to find out here on 3 White TV. Good restart by the number 6 and the 39 of Hausman with him. And Cameron, that's about as good as it could have been for the number 6 machine because he's not leaving himself out there as a sitting duck. Meanwhile, a gap develops between Doug Neal there and the 5th place of now Bilson. Bilson in the number 51 machine trying to get underneath those trucks around him. There he is, but up at the front, it is Doug Milliner right now continuing to lead the way. But here comes Hausman in the number 39 machine side by side for the race lead halfway down the back.
And he's got good push from the behind. Tim Hammond going to push him right on past that number 6 of Doug Milliner. A lot of trucks in the back struggling to get up to speed. But one of the trucks behind this top 3 is that number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson. We've seen him be up and down all night, have some bad strategy here and there, but he is in the fight for the lead. And that number 51 of Paul Bilson as well with a bit of damage. Coming to the white flag out of turn number 4. That number 39 of Stan Hausman probably had the best restart of this group up here. And he was in the best spot, I think, right behind that leader, but he's going to have to fight between this 25 and the 6 who are going to go around him on the outside right now, but actually not so fast. Here comes the 6. The 6 can actually decide who he wants to go with, and he's going to go with that 39.
Yeah, a couple of Fords working together here in the closing laps. Look at Bilson there in the number 51 machine. Is he going to have the opportunity to get a huge run on these leaders. Here comes Milliner on the outside. No help for him in that number 6 machine. The 25 of Hammond going with Houseman for now on the inside. Here comes that number 33 machine. He's trying to get up to the bump. Almost gave a bump to the number 6 machine. Cameron, get up on your feet because we're going to have a run to the checkered flag. Houseman leads coming out of the final corner. Huge run for the outside. The number 6 machine. Here they are coming to the line. It will be the 6th. Milliner goes to victory lane in the Simbox 250. What a fantastic job for Milliner. That run from the number 33 machine. He was a couple of laps down, but it is the number 6 of Milliner who gets to go to victory lane. And Cameron, he was the Lucky Dog Award winner there with about 15 laps to go. And what a finish. 9/1000ths of a second.
Yeah, that was a great finish. We're going to watch it here once again. At number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson, we're going to have to keep an eye on him because he gave a whale of a push to that number 6 out of turn number 4. Locked bumpers right there. You saw that push was just good enough to keep that number 6 right in front of Stan Houseman. And like you said, the gap, 9/1000ths of a second at the line right there. Photo finish just about. Saw a couple cars ducking off there off turn number 4. Trying to wreck. I don't think they actually did, but that had a couple cars in the grass there, and ooh, what a race.
And folks, number 6 is out of fuel. We said it would be close. I personally didn't think he was going to have enough fuel to make it to the checkered flag, but somehow, some way, the number 6 of Doug Milliner gets to go to victory lane. He's going to need a little bit of help from one of the other trucks. Here comes the 971 of Maurer. Maurer is going to give him the push to go to victory lane here at Daytona. What a fantastic job by Doug Milliner, because I'll tell you what, Cameron, down here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, right there, 30 positions gained. He started all the way back in 31st, and he's going to also pick up the Taz Racing Customs biggest mover of the race. So not only the winner of tonight's event, also the biggest mover. So pretty cool to see that out of Doug Milliner. Well, we are going to step away here for just a brief moment. We'll let him coast down to a crawl here. We're going to line up some interviews with the top 3 finishers of Milliner, Houseman, as well as the rest of the field there right at the end. And we'll be right back here on 3 Wide TV. All right, folks, welcome back to 3 Wide TV. We're going to talk to the third place finisher here tonight. Up first, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Man, Jeffrey, that number 33 machine, it was an up-down night for you. You were lap down at one point, but you got up into the fray there right at the end. You picked your lines right, and what a finish it was. You were able to push that number 6 machine across the line for the win. Tell us a little bit about the night from your perspective.
Well, we started about where we wanted. My plan was to stay in the back and avoid all the carnage, and I had the idea one caution too late that I needed to stay out and lead a lap for points. And the time I chose to do it was the wrong time. I should have done it the caution beforehand. But overall, the night was, we had the speed. I mean, the truck, it did what it was supposed to. And I mean, I could run with the best of them. The problem is we got caught up after that. The group of cars I was with, they're all damaged. So it made it impossible to catch that lead pack until we had a caution. And after that, I mean, that you couldn't get me out of the top 10.
Yeah, what a crazy night here at Daytona. Of course, we had a lot of yellows early on in the race. What was going through your mind in those first 50 laps in that number 33 truck?
I expected the cautions, so my plan was to just sit back, let the carnage explode, and cash my golden ticket when I could. But I about ruined that myself. But aside from that, I mean, it was hellish out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, your golden ticket tonight was the Brookstone Lucky Dog Award that happened there with about 20 laps to go. Of course, it's a great start to your season. How much does this momentum mean that you get from the first race of the season for the remainder of the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series?
It's huge. I mean, last year we won this race and then we finished third in points. So maybe finishing third in this race, we'll win the points this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, next week we do go to Atlanta Motor Speedway. It'll be 160 laps around Atlanta. Very slick racetrack, that mile and a half. What are you expecting at Hotlanta?
It's going to be slick, but it's going to be fast. Atlanta is always a good race. So as long as people can kind of keep their calm and make their moves when they need to, we'll be all right. But Atlanta it was great for me last year. I think we got a top 10 there, so I see nothing different this year.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. Before we let you go, Jeffrey, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my family and friends watching. Shout out to New Edge Auto Detailing and all of our clients, and everybody at IGL Ceramic Coatings.
All right, well, Jeffrey, congratulations on your podium here tonight, and good luck next week at Atlanta.
Thank you.
All right, and I believe that Cameron Rich has caught up with our second-place finisher here tonight, Stan Halsman. It was very close for him there, Cam.
Yeah, I got Stan Hausman here. How you doing, Stan?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. It was a pretty close finish for you, I'd say.
Yeah. After just kind of surviving all night, I'll take second by a fender all day long. It was close. I'd like to have won, but I wasn't going to wreck us coming to the finish. I tell you that much.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. You were kind of one of the drivers that was hanging around the top 10, top 15 all night, not really making a whole lot of noise, but you were pretty much where you needed to be. Was that your plan, or did it kind of just it just kind of fall like that?
It kind of felt like that. Once I kind of fell back into the 15th and on back area, I was like, I was good enough to give everyone room in front and see the action happen in front of me and just kind of miss the carnage. I was lucky enough to do that.
Yeah, really, how was the race from your cockpit perspective, kind of all night long? Because it was pretty wild, then it got kind of tame, then it got wild again from our perspective.
Yeah, I think what ended up happening was, we had to kind of settle down after a few wrecks there in the beginning, and then, toward the end there, it's getting towards show and tell time. So you got to go if you're back in 15th to get your way back up there, and things happen. Bill and the 51 got into it right in front of me, and then somehow I don't know how in the world I missed that because it said I had a 4X, and at that point you just got to keep your foot on it and try to keep your position as best you can.
Absolutely, and you started that last lap of the race leading, and of course, at Daytona in the trucks especially, it's kind of a crapshoot. Last lap, whatever happens. Is there anything you think you could have done differently to maybe get that W, or did you kind of just just happen the way it did?
I mean, it kind of happened the way it did. If I would have moved up and blocked Doug on the backstretch, I either would have been spinning through the grass, or Tim would have had a heck of a run. And it was at that point. I was actually surprised he didn't pull further up along the backstretch. So I thought I had a fighting shot coming out of 4, but they got a little bit of a side draft and were able to come back by at the line. So the fact that we were neck and neck coming out of 4 gave me more of a shot than I thought I was going to have.
Absolutely. Well, we got 23 more rounds of this long championship to go. Next week we go to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. How are you feeling about that one?
I like tracks like that, where tires come on in to play. It's my home track. I'm from Atlanta, so looking forward to coming home.
Absolutely. Well, you start off the season with a pretty good points finish there, finishing at second. So a lot of momentum going into next week. Before we let you go, Stan, you got any shout outs or thanks you want to give to anyone here on 3Y TV?
Oh yeah, Tropical Smoothie Cafe and Brookstone Animal Hospital for sponsoring the truck and Ford giving me something to drive. Simbox, awesome sponsor. They were the sponsor of our Wednesday Night Thunder. I was happy to see them come on over there. They're an awesome group, so happy to be running in their series.
All right. Well, thank you very much for talking with us, Stan. Good run out there. You put an awesome race on for all of us, and good job on finishing second.
Thanks, guys.
And with that, I think Peter has caught up with our winner, the Brookstone Lucky Dog winner himself, Doug Milliner.
That I have. And Doug, man, you came into the final lap not looking like you were going to be going to victory lane. However, a fantastic move in that entire final lap to get yourself across the line first. What a move. 9/1000ths of a second. Talk us through that final restart here tonight.
Well, first of all, I want to tell Nathan that I threw a nasty block on him and he didn't spin me out. So props to him on that. I just kind of left, I kind of faked high with Tim and he bit going into 1 there on the last lap. And then I went down low and then I knew that he wasn't going to help me after that. And I didn't blame him. And I got lucky and Jeffrey came up there and just knocked the absolute crap out of my bumper and just kind of pushed us through there. So it was fun. I hate plate racing, so I'm glad it's over with.
Well, lucky for you, we're not going to another super speedway next week. We're going to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's 250 miles around that racetrack. It's actually 240 miles for the Spear Cancer for Crow 240. What are your thoughts about Atlanta?
I like racing there. It's fun. It's a fun little track. Tires wear out real quick, and it's just a fun track. You get to do a lot of passing. There's a lot of comers and goers, and I ran pretty good there last year, so hoping I can repeat the same thing this year.
Well, you start off the season on an absolute high, getting the win here at Daytona. And from the sounds of things, you're probably glad that Daytona's in the rear. But, it is a long season. There's 23 more races left to determine who is the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series champion. What's your outlook on the schedule? Are there any races that you kind of have circled as races that you expect to contend for a win?
To be honest, I really don't know what all we're going to. So I know last year I didn't really compete for any wins. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll have a couple good runs, a couple good qualifying starts there, and we'll just see what happens. But I don't know. I'm on top of the world right now. I'm ecstatic. So
Well, I'll tell you what, not only did you come home with the checkered flag, you're also tonight's Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover of the Race award winner. And Taz Racing Customs, of course, specializing in making custom diecasts. They can make diecasts of just about any car you want it. They will make it. Doug, was it your strategy to kind of lay back early in the race with that starting back in 31st? Or tell us about how you made your way through the field.
Yeah. I started my dual race and I ran about 5 or 6 laps, just parked it because I wanted to start in the back. And my whole plan was just wait and try to avoid the big wrecks. And I got lucky on that big one there on the back stretch with about 10 to go, maybe 15 to go. And I somehow avoided that one. But yeah, that was the plan. I think we restarted with about 20 laps to go. And I figured it was time to go. And it's never worked out that way before. So I'm just happy that it worked out tonight. And I don't know, man, I'm just happy.
I'll tell you what, you also won the Brookstone Lucky Dog Award winner. So you pretty much won all the awards here tonight except for the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award. But Doug, before we let you go, you got any shout outs for us?
I just want to give a shout out to my wife who lets me do this without complaining. So that's pretty cool. Maybe I can cheer her up. I'll dedicate this win to my father-in-law who passed away unexpectedly in May. So she'll be happy to hear I got this win. Maybe. I don't know. Just everybody that's watching. I don't know how many people are watching. Hopefully they're still watching. They can hear me pull my best Ricky Bobby impression because I don't know what to do with my hands. And I don't know, just a fun group of guys to race with, man. And I've watched a couple broadcasts of you guys. You guys do a good job. Thank you for broadcasting. Thank you to Doug for sponsoring, Doug Neal. And I'll just give a shout out to the Louisville Cardinals. So I'd like to see the NCAA come take this from me like they did the championship. So there
Well,
it is.
you could see Louisville Cardinals right on the hood of that number 6 machine, Doug. We'll see you next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Best of luck.
All right, thanks, fellas.
All right, well, Cameron, we've been watching this in slow motion now, the nose of Doug Miller, but I think what we're seeing right now on the screen is something super impressive. We're coming out of turn number 4. We're coming to the checkered flag here, and look at Milliner. He's not even level with the rear tire of that number 39 machine of Houseman at this point in time. Just the shot that he got from the number 33 coming out of that corner, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Look at that nudge, just propels that number 6 truck side by side. And look at right behind the number 23 of White and the 51 there of Bilson having a little bit of a coming together. The 23 going down through the grass just a little bit, but Cameron really in slow motion. This is a pretty cool camera shot just to see how close it was at the start-finish line.
Yeah, it was really about the last 100 yards of that race where he got the shot to actually make that pass there. And you see right there, he kind of got Bass and then, kind of held it right there. So it was pretty cool to see. That was a really good all around Daytona race. The trucks are always so fun at this track. I love watching them. I love broadcasting trucks at Daytona. You see right there, margin of victory, about 8/1000ths of a second, photo finish. You had your bit of carnage, you had your bit of clean racing, and you had your good finish. I think this race had just about it all, Peter.
Yeah, and we are now going to line up your race results here for you. Doug Milliner in that number 6 machine taking home the checkered flag. Stan Halsman in the number 39 machine right there on the left-hand side, or right-hand side of your screen, coming home in second. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. was the lucky dog award winner there late, comes home and finishes in third in the number 33 machine. So threes are wild here tonight. Tim Hammond in the number 25 machine comes home in fourth. He led a lot of laps here tonight. Paul Bilson. I told him at the beginning of the season that was going to happen at some point this year, and here we are, first race that slips out. But Paul Bilson comes home in fifth. He actually led the most laps here tonight at 27. Nicholas Bradley comes home in sixth. Doug Neal, your Sim Racing Shirts Poll Award winner, comes home in seventh. Ron Gaivo in the number 17 machine coming home in eighth. Nathan Maurer in ninth, and TJ Buck, they're running out the top 10 there, Cam.
11th place, you had Brett Acworth. Chris Darling comes home in the 12th place. He got involved in a wreck there late on. Jacob Schaffet. Okay, I can't talk.
Be careful there, Cam.
Coming home in the 13th place. He had a good run all night, got involved with some late incidents there at the end. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get the finish he probably deserved. Jeff Price coming home in 14th, your second place starter. Zach Howell, he had a good run there near the end. Wasn't able to get the finish he probably deserved either. Bill Edwards, we saw him helicopter into space, coming home in the 16th spot. Trevor Shaw coming home in 17th. Mitchell Snare, we saw him having a blown engine there at the end. Very unfortunate night for him. He was up front all night. He's going to come home in 18th. Aaron Mack, he was able to rebound a little bit from some early issues, but coming home 19th. And then Robert Dudley rounded out top 20.
In the 21st position, Gerald Baker, the third. Didn't really mention that number 12 machine all too much tonight. Tough night there, finishing 23 laps down. Joey Doucette in the 22nd position. Colin Ullery in 23rd in the number 62 machine. Robert Clavey the second in 24th. Justin White in the number 2 machine in 25th. James Orello and Cameron. really, that number 9 machine was so much off the pace, but he stuck it out for as long as he could, coming home 26th, holding off the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman. Both of those drivers finished 40 laps down. And Cameron, like I said, there was a little bit of a race back there for some of those positions right there at the end, with those drivers continuing to stick it out. Travis White comes home in 28th in the number 23 machine. Ben Adams in 29th. Michael Mooney rounding out your top 30 there, Cam.
And we're going to round out to our field here. Most of these drivers probably taken out in the first wreck or so, definitely damaged. There's John Canizaro coming home 31st, JT Poole coming home 32nd, Chip Hansen 33rd, Jordan Shepler 34th, David Visser 35th, Justin Hutchinson 36th, Joshua Sobel in 37th, TJ Floyd comes home in 38th, Matt Cherry, we saw what happened to him, coming home in 39th, Roger Muth coming home in 40th place. And then we have a couple more here. Christopher Pendell coming home in 41st, and Ben Mashburn, round out your field in 42nd. Most of those drivers taken out very early on, not able to really show their strengths here tonight. So hopefully next week at Atlanta, we can probably see some more of those drivers come out and race for the win.
Yeah, make sure you join us next week for the Spear Cancer for Crow 240 for the next round of the Simbox Truck Series here in the National Sim Racing Association. But Cameron, what a night here. I'm very much looking forward to what the rest of the season has in store, because race number 1, you see it right there, just 9/1000ths of a second. Should be a good season.
Absolutely. And there's a couple wild cards on the schedule we want to probably watch out for. We have a race at Motegi, and I believe that's in December, so that's going to be a fun one to watch. A couple of road courses on the schedule. Very all-around good, well-rounded schedule. A lot of different types of tracks, and we're ending on March 12th at Chicagoland. That's 23 events from now. So who's going to be your champion by then? Who knows? But I would say definitely a good league to watch out for and to tune into on 3 Wide TV.
Absolutely. Before we go, we want to give a big shout out, of course, to Simbox for sponsoring this series, but also our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles that we gave you here tonight. But for myself, Peter Short, and Cameron Rich, we want to give each and every one of you good night, and we will see you in 1 week's time at Atlanta. You guys have a wonderful evening.